it's the premiere episode of The Magnificent Bastards.
We are
the official podcast of Ruth Stage, the hot premiere up and coming theater group in New York City. For all information on our theater group, ruthstage.org. And I'm here with the man who helps me run this illustrious nonprofit, Joe Rosario.
What up, everyone?
Joe directed our back-to-back productions of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. We are
Busted my balls, I must say.
first group in the history of the world
That's right.
to have the off-Broadway rights to Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, one of the most famous plays ever written. We did it not once, but twice. 76 performances. You cleaned up. We cleaned up. And if you want to know anything about me, just Google Matt Rogatis, New York Times. That's all you need to know.
He's abtastic.
Yes, I was once called abtastic by the New York Times. Unfortunately, I'm no longer abtastic.
Were you tattoo terrific? Too?
Abtastic, yeah, something about tattoos. But anyways, yeah, we crushed Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Sure
We're gonna be bragging about ourselves a lot on future episodes, but we're not gonna get into too much theater stuff today, because even though we're a theater group, we're developing a TV series. We've got a new production coming up in the fall, which we haven't announced yet. We've got short films. We're kind of like a multimedia group.
Yeah.
We're not big theater guys. I mean, I don't get excited when Nathan Lane's coming back to Broadway. So yeah,
Death threats tomorrow.
doesn't really get me excited. So our podcast is just going to be like a podcast on subjects that we like to talk about. Real cool shit. We're worldly guys. I'm getting a master's from Rutgers. You're a graduate of Fordham. I also we forgot to bring in the third man.
Yes.
The third man of the NWO. DJ Skalli.
The honorary bastard.
Yes, the honorary bastard, a brainiac in his own right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've seen any of those really cool pictures from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or our giant Times Square billboards, the photos, the video, it's all done by DJ Skalli.
Well, thank you, Matt.
Again, ruthstage.org for all things Ruth Stage.
And my personal headshots, who I'm very picky about who does them.
Yes.
I'm giving you the task.
Find us on social media at official Ruth Stage. This is the inaugural, I'm already drunk, inaugural podcast.
You're in for a good one.
Of the Magnificent Bastards. We ordered pizza. We cracked some wine. This is a beautiful set designed by our Cat on a Hot Tin Roof set designer, Matt Imhoff. Joe, talk a little bit about this set, because it's loaded with trinkets from your own personal collection, including a very expensive wine rack behind us.
Yeah, there's a ton of money sitting behind me in their bottles.
Talk about this, which we're drinking right now.
Yes, I have to put my glasses on. Fucking old age.
It's a Zinfandel.
It's a 1989 Livermore Valley Zinfandel. So that makes this 35 something.
What year is it?
1989.
Yeah, so it's close to 35 years old.
35 years I've had this bottle.
Older than DJ Skalli.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, like 10 years.
Yeah, I got what we call big robust reds behind me, which
you're a big robust guy.
Yes, so I need robust reds. Basically a lot from the Napa Valley, France and Italy, the
Nice.
Aperosas and stuff. Really, really good shit. A vintage Bakelite radio. The Iron Sheik.
Yeah, that's mine. Big pro wrestling fan here.
Hey, what the fuck is the matter with you boys?
All roads lead to pro wrestling and Michael Jordan with me. By the way, tonight is the night that I'm hoping LeBron James is eliminated from the playoffs, swept by the Nuggets. Anyways, continue, Joe.
Besides wine, we love cigars. This is a vintage cigar box here. We have some of our Cuban cigars that we've been smuggling into the country for
We got a little crystal ball. We're going to have a segment later called Joe Stradamus, where he's going to make a prediction. We got some merch. We got a coffee mug here. We got a hat. We're working on some designer clothing. We're reinventing what is being thought of as a theater group, I think.
We have a Buddha, and as you know, Buddha was a flat earth guy.
Yeah, well, you just gave away the subject of our episode.
No,
So
that's just a fact.
this feels like a perfect time to kind of
segue
into the topic. I mentioned that Joe is an educated man. I'm an educated guy. We're very worldly, intelligent people. And, when you tell people that you're a conspiracy theorist, which I am, admittedly, they think that you're like a moron. They think that you're stupid. You walk around with tinfoil hats. You think the government is listening to everything. I want to just throw it back a few years to the year 2020. And I want to talk about the day that my life was changed forever.
Uh-oh.
So we're locked down in COVID, right? And my parents live in a retirement community. Next door to them is a man that's, he's like bedridden. And there's this younger girl that's taking care of him, woman, early 40s,
Right.
Mormon. So she's a little wacky. You can't go 5 minutes without her mentioning Jesus Christ. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. She will find a way to bring Jesus into the conversation. But anyways, she knows that I'm a conspiracy theorist. And I go over there and we're talking about COVID and conspiracies. And, we're not going to get into that today. But she says to me, "Are you a flat earther?" And I said, "Get the fuck out of here." I'm like, that is the stupidest shit ever. Of course, I'm not a flat earther. I was insulted. I wanted to leave when she said, "Are you a flat earther?" Because I felt like she was saying, "Are you a fucking moron?" And so I said, "No, I'm not a flat earther." And she said, I said, "It's ridiculous. We've been to the moon. There's pictures of the earth from space. You could see it's a circle. How could anybody think that the earth is flat?" Kyrie Irving is the biggest idiot. Even Shaq said that the earth is flat. How could they think this? It's got to be a gag. It's got to be Ashton Kutcher is punking us all. There's no possible way that anybody could believe that the earth is flat. She's like, "I thought so too. Do you have a couple of hours?" And, we're locked down in COVID and I'm like, sure, I got nothing else to do, but, sit inside and watch old WrestleManias on the Peacock channel. So I'm like, okay, sure. Let's see what you got. I would say this was around 2:00 in the afternoon. By 4:00, I was a flat earther and I have never looked back. She showed me a video called The History of Flat Earth by, a flat earther named Eric Dubay. Now, once you go down that rabbit hole, you want to keep going. It's like if you date a narcissist, and we're going to have that in an upcoming episode.
Exactly.
You keep looking. It's like it just becomes so interesting. It's like, I got to learn all about this. It's like, you become a detective in your relationship with these people because it's like, why did she say that? Why did she do this? What does this mean? And, they gaslight the shit out of you. And it's the same kind of thing with flat earth. It was just like, I kept going down the rabbit hole. I started watching more videos. I started listening to podcasts, and I came across a guy named Dave Weiss, and I started listening to all of his podcasts, and he just brought up new points that I didn't see in this video, and it just kept going and going. And I literally was like on podcast, not looking for podcast shows. I was just looking on what shows Dave Weiss was on so I could listen to him, because I found him to be the most interesting guy on Flat Earth. And it's not every day that you get to meet your hero, but today's the day. I got him on. I reached out, and again, I want to say, Joe and I, we're intelligent guys. Now, Joe, I know you're kind of on the fence with Flat Earth, but I feel like you lean Flat Earth.
I'm open-minded.
Yeah, you're open-minded. I'm an admitted flat earther, but we're not morons, is what I'm trying to say here. We're intelligent people. Now, DJ Skalli, also a very intelligent guy, but a staunch opposer to the flat earth concept.
100% a globalist.
So I think when we get into this,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Bring me on.
Let's bring Dave in.
I cannot take this anymore. You're not a conspiracy theorist. You're a conspiracy analyst, because conspiracy theorists, we look into it. We analyze it. We actually think about it. We don't just go, hey, 2 buildings, 2 planes knocked down 7 buildings. So that's a conspiracy theory. Okay. Right. A conspiracy analyst will look into it and say, well, in reality, this can't happen. This can happen. And a conspiracy is when 2 or more people conspire for their own benefit. You think that ever happens?
Of course, every day.
People have
selfish
interests.
All roads lead to pro wrestling. I'm actually talking with Chris Jericho to go on for his show for the 3rd time.
I've heard the first 2 episodes. Yeah.
So he can't wait to have me back on. So that's going to be another epic show. Another epic show. And hopefully we're going to do a video one this time so I can show him all the goods.
Yeah, I listened to those at the gym. Those 2 episodes with you and Jericho. They're great.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
So anyways, Dave, welcome to the show. We're going to have a friendly debate because I feel like where this is going to go is it's going to kind of, because you don't have to convince me of anything. It's Miles that is going to be the one that is, going to be the opposer and wanting to, challenge you.
And I have my normal reward of 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof. But at the end of today's show, I'm going to offer Miles 9 Bitcoins.
Wow.
Bitcoin.
Globe proof. 9 Bitcoins for
this is
1
the first
globe
I'm hearing
proof.
of this. Okay. All right. You know what? That sounds excellent.
So Miles, you just have to prove one proof that the Earth is the globe.
One proof. One proof.
And you'll get 9 Bitcoins.
What do I give you if you can prove to me that the Earth is flat? I'm willing to put up.
Well, I know that I'm going to prove it. You're just going to have cognitive dissonance. I know that I'm going to prove it. Okay. I'm going to show you a preponderance of evidence. Let me ask you a question. Bitcoin's like 23,000 right now or something like that.
Wow.
I don't know.
You'll be a rich man.
Maybe it's 26. Maybe it's 26,000.
So either way, tonight's going to change my life.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Either way, that's going to change your life. So let me ask you a question. You walk into a room. It's a gory example. You walk in a room. There's 20 dead bodies, hacked up, blood everywhere, disgusting. It smells, flies, everything. Okay. Mm-hmm. You have no evidence or idea why this happened.
Right.
Are you able to walk out of that room and say it didn't happen? Because I'm going to show you 20 bloody bodies today, proving the Earth is flat. Okay, but you can't walk away and say, "Well, I can't." What's the motive? How do they keep a secret? They can't even keep a blowjob a secret.
Yeah,
and all of that is done on purpose to make you doubt your God-given common sense and just believe complete and total nonsense.
Yeah, amazing. And I'd like to preface this by saying that I am also a conspiracy theorist or a conspiracy analyst. Like, I do believe that aliens are real, for example, or that perhaps 9/11 was an alleged government.
Perhaps.
Start there.
Yeah,
Let's start with aliens are real, because I'm with you. Extraterrestrials are real.
Absolutely.
Right?
There's no way we're alone in the universe.
Let me ask you, let's start off with 3 of the easiest heliocentric, that's globe, in case you didn't know, globe model questions, okay?
Sure.
3 easy questions, okay? How many times does the Earth rotate in one day in the heliocentric model?
It's once every 24 hours.
So your answer is 1?
Yeah, once every 24 hours.
Very good. Hey, listen. Listen, I'm just asking the question.
He prepped for this. Yeah.
Oh, I was ready.
Okay, another easy one. How fast is the Earth orbiting the sun? The average speed.
Every year, once every 360.
No. How fast? How many miles per hour is it moving?
In miles per hour, I don't have the exact number, but I do know that it's
once
every year.
Okay, once every year, but how many miles per hour is that?
I would have to guess somewhere in the tens of thousands, like a 5-digit. Let's, for arbitrary sake, say 36,000 miles per hour.
Hey, not bad. 66,600. Funny number. Okay, and then
3 6s. That's interesting.
How far away allegedly is the sun?
It is okay. So this I don't have an.
Can I answer for him?
Please.
Can I?
100. You know the answer. 90.
Yeah, 93 million miles. They say. They say.
But here's the thing. You are here to defend the globe, and you don't even know your own model. Okay. If you knew 1/10 of what Matt and I know about the globe, you would be a flat earther. Because the globe is. Am I allowed to say the R word?
Say whatever you want.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's fucking retarded. Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, bring it because word. I thought it would have a hard R at the
end. No. It's retarded. And I think that's why they don't want us using that word, because people will go, wait a minute, you know what's retarded is the freaking heliocentric model. That's retarded. All right. So you believe that there's we're all told this is why you believe it. To believe that this Carl Sagan, I'll do it. I can't do it in his voice, but just imagine I'm speaking Carl Sagan's voice. To believe that we're the only ones, intelligent life in this vast universe of billions and trillions of stars is very self-centered and ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it's a fallacy. It's all human arrogance.
It's all human arrogance that we're the only ones because the galaxy is so vast and we're the pale blue dot. All
I subscribe to that.
It's all nonsense. So we're gonna hold on. We're gonna look at some of these distances. They want to tell you about they never taught you how to deal with large numbers. Okay. And 1 trillion is not even a large number, but it's going to blow your mind when you figure out what a trillion is, right? How long is 1 trillion seconds? Take a guess. If you guess it within a week, I'll give you one of those Bitcoin.
One Bitcoin.
Oh my God.
You got a week, Miles.
Just real
No
quick,
Googling.
Take a guess. Take a guess.
Okay. Well, Matt just told me I'm not allowed to Google because I am the tech guy. I'm sitting
1
behind
trillion
a desk. So
second.
off the
1
top of my
trillion
head,
seconds.
without Googling, I'm going to
1
say
trillion
1 trillion seconds is going to be equivalent to about 300 years. Off the top.
Wow,
of my
very, very close. 31,000 years.
What?
Okay?
I missed a couple of zeros, didn't I?
So think about that. Just think about that for a second. 31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. Now, the closest star, I'm not going to even ask you because you have no idea how far it is. It's 4.5 light years, and that equates to about 25 trillion miles. Now, that's the closest star, ignoring our sun. Okay, if the sun is a star, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the closest star. And by the way, the other ones are magnitudes, multiples, many multiples farther. The closest one is our nearest neighbor, 25 trillion miles. If you and I got into a spaceship, we're traveling a mile per second, that no one has ever gone that fast. And we traveled for 31,000 years. We are 1/25th of the way to that place. And we have to do that 24 more times to get to the closest star. Okay.
Yeah, the universe is vast.
Okay.
Miles believes that we can see that light in the sky.
Yeah. Miles, you understand, like if you were standing in front of me here in this room, you could hear me. But if I sent you a mile away and I yelled, you wouldn't hear me. Why is that? Because the sound spreads out and gets thinner and thinner as
Sound
it
is just the
travels out.
vibration of the air
Light
particles in the
does
air.
the same thing. Light does the same thing.
No,
light
behaves a little differently. It's both a particle and a wave, right? Because it's a
Oh
photon.
my God, you're just believing complete and total nonsense.
Why do you say that's nonsense? I mean, we can prove. So I'm a sound guy. Like
A
by
particle and a
trade.
wave, it still spreads out, getting thinner and thinner.
Right, but the photon itself is a particle that travels through that vast distance. It doesn't care how long it takes. It's inanimate. It doesn't.
Prove to me there's photons.
Prove to you that there are photons. I can prove to you that light, behaves as both a particle and a wave.
With the double slit experiment, right?
With the double slit experiment, exactly.
Yeah. What does that prove to you? Okay. What is that
attributes of both?
All right. So does that mean that it doesn't get dimmer over? Do you know what the inverse square law of light is?
Off the top of my head, I don't have the formula for the inverse square
law. But however, you know what it is, but the general idea of what it is.
Yes, I do have the general idea of the inverse square
law.
All
right. So as light travels, every time you double the distance, it's a quarter of the brightness.
But
right?
That number never hits zero.
It's a quarter of the brightness, right?
It approaches zero, just like infinity. You can never actually achieve true infinity. It only ever approaches infinity, like calculus, right?
So my question is, if we're looking at the moon on a full moon night, and you're in the middle of nowhere and there's clear skies, you can read a book by it. It casts your shadow on the ground, right? From the moonshine, right?
Right.
Great. Okay. So if you went halfway to the moon, let's call that 1 lumen. I think it's brighter than 1 lumen. We'll just call it 1 lumen for easy math. You went halfway to the moon. It's now 4 lumens.
Okay.
Because it quadruples every time you cut the distance in half.
Right.
Then you go halfway that distance again, it's 16. Halfway again, it's 64. When you get to 100 miles from the moon, it's over 60 times brighter than the sun. Okay? You can't fathom what twice the brightness of the sun is. So your brain short circuits, like, I can't fathom that. But according to science, that's how bright the moon would have to be for us to see it at 1 lumen here from Earth. Now, you believe that we can see a star.
Are you implying that the moon is a luminescent object or that it's reflecting the light?
It doesn't matter whether it's reflecting or not, but I am claiming it is a luminescent object. That's a whole nother discussion.
We should get into that too, but not right now. Yeah. But go ahead. Continue.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. So the star. So the sun has a brightness. We'll call it one sun brightness. Okay, sure. whatever that is.
Whatever that unit is.
Can something be twice as bright as the sun?
Yes.
Could it be 1,000,000 times as bright as the sun?
Yes, it's a measurement. It's all relative. As long as
so
you're
something could actually be 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun.
Yes.
How is that possible?
Because it emits 1,000,000 times more photons.
1,000,000 times more photons. They'd have to be 1,000,000 times packed. Every time where there's 1 photon, there'd have to be 1,000,000 photons on top of each other to be 1,000,000 times brighter.
Well, the universe is mostly empty
so you're
space,
saying
including
you
ourselves,
could stack,
right?
you can stack 1 million photons on top of each other. That's what it would take to be 1 million times brighter.
Sure, we don't know of any physical limit as far as how much you can stack things. Like, that's also how you get black holes. We didn't think you can stack mass into such densities, but it creates an entirely different physical phenomenon than what we're aware of. We just haven't tested it.
All right. You know what? That's all theoretical nonsense. How about angular size? You know what the inverse square law works for angular size. So the formula, which you probably didn't know, and most people don't, most flat earthers don't even know it, is 3,000 times the distance of the width. So if I had a penny and I took that width and made it 3,000 times that distance, you can't see it because its angular size is too small for your eye to resolve. Okay, you can check that out later, but that is a fact, right? When something is so far away, it's so small, you can't see it. You understand that?
Yeah, if something takes up a smaller percentage of your field of view, right, the further away it is, like the moon seems small in the night sky because it's so far away, when in reality it's significantly larger than what you can actually see. It's taking up a smaller
so there is a
view.
distance. There is a distance that moon would be so small that you couldn't see it, right?
Right.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Right. I think on a clear day, I think the statistic is like 3 miles out is what the human eye can see if you're standing on Earth. Yeah, right before like
you're talking about curvature now. We're talking about something else.
It starts to dip down the horizon.
Stop changing the topic. You got to focus on one thing at a time.
Okay, so
you're talking about curvature, and we're talking about the angular size of things. So they tell us the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, but it's also 400 times farther, which makes them the same size from our point of view, right? That's the official story. Right. It's kind of crazy. Okay. So it's 400 times bigger, 400 times farther. Okay, great. That gives us that astronomy is telling us that you can use sizing and scaling, the distance and size to make things the same size. So if a basketball is, let's say it's 6 times bigger than a tennis ball, make it 6 times farther, they'll look like they're the same size, okay? Whatever the number is, all right? And you can test that, and that actually does work, okay? Whatever the distance is. So they tell us Polaris, you can see Polaris, right? You know where it is in the sky?
Mm-hmm.
Polaris.
In the night sky, right?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see it with your naked eye. They tell us it's 46 times bigger than our sun. Great. So if we made Polaris 46 times farther than our sun, 93 miles times 46, they would both look like the same size. We'd have 2 suns in our sky. If Polaris was 46 times farther away than our sun, 93 million miles times 46, we would have 2 suns in the sky. Would you agree with that?
In theory, yes, but because of the way that light behaves as a wave as well, it does disperse through that, empty vacuum of space. And then when accounting for our atmosphere as well, like our atmosphere is a fluid, right? There's a refraction of that light.
So there's a refraction of Polaris 46 times farther than the sun, but not refraction of our sun?
Oh, there's absolutely a refraction of our sun. That's how we get things like mirage.
So let me ask you a question. Would they look the same? Would they look like they're the same size?
If we're going based on those variables alone,
yes.
Perhaps yes, it would. But there are more physical phenomena involved here, again, because we don't exactly understand entirely how light is doing both a particle and a wave.
Get off the particle and wave thing. I'll give it to you. Okay, it's a particle and wave. We can see the sun. It's a particle and a wave. Mm-hmm. Yippee. Well, maybe if it was only a particle, we couldn't see it, or only a wave, we couldn't see it. But because it's a particle and a wave, we can see the sun. We have Polaris 46 times bigger, 46 times farther. We just moved it, and now we have 2 suns in our sky.
Well, it's important because of how it travels through empty space. That's the reason.
I'm talking about the size that we see it. Would we be able to see Polaris 46 times farther than the sun? Would we be able to see it?
We do see Polaris. It just doesn't appear like our sun in the night sky.
Why? Because it's too far away, or because it's different?
Because it behaves as both a particle and a wave, and it disperses through that empty space. And then when it does return,
wait a minute. You're just throwing words out there. You're not making any sense at all. Okay.
I'm reiterating what I was saying earlier because that's the truth. I'm not trying to spin things. I'm trying to give it to you as objective and direct as possible.
You are completely making what's called word salad. Okay. Let's back it up. We're going to stay on this point until I can make it. Okay. Mm-hmm. The sun is 93 million miles away.
Mm-hmm.
How do we see it?
The sun, it appears as a ball in the sky.
Why is that?
Because it's a ball in the sky.
Okay. And how come we see it?
We look at it with our eyeballs. In fact, you shouldn't look directly into the sun, kids. Don't try that at home.
Well, that's a misnomer too, but
what? Not to look at the sun directly with your eyes?
Wait, wait, hold on. Don't sidetrack. Okay, you're having a hard enough time just following this simple logic.
Ruth Stage takes no responsibility for any children who stare directly into the sun.
Now, let me ask you a question. If we doubled the distance to the sun, would it be smaller?
It would appear smaller in the sky, yes.
Okay. And it would be a quarter of the size. That's according to the inverse squirrel. Just letting you know. Okay, so now we have a smaller sun in the sky. Let's move it back to where it was. Now we have a regular sun in the sky. Mm-hmm. If I put Polaris right next to it, we'd have a circle 46 times bigger than Polaris. Polaris is you agree it's a sphere like the sun, right?
Right.
Okay. And it's next to the sun, so we have another sun in the sky that's 46 times bigger.
Right, but it's putting out a lot more light than the sun is. Because
I don't care.
No,
I don't care.
It's important. That's
I don't care.
Brighter.
That's not important. Not important for the point I'm making.
Okay.
Not important
What's the
at
point
all.
That you're making.
Try to follow.
I'm following.
If I moved it, how many times farther than the sun would I have to move it to make them look like they're the same size?
In theory, it would be 46, but we're not taking into account the amount of energy that Polaris is putting out because you're dealing with a fusion reaction that is significantly 46 times larger than our sun.
So
which
I think what Miles is saying is that
energy.
the Polaris is not putting out as bright of a fire as the sun is. Therefore, that's why it appears duller in the sky.
A 46 times larger nuclear reactor is going to put out way more than 46 times more nuclear power. So there's more light being put out. Therefore, it would seem brighter even though it is further away. You're talking about the sun. I'm talking about Polaris. Polaris being so...
I'm talking about the angular size of the sun.
Okay.
The whole brightness thing, you haven't done the math. The numbers are like, it would have to be like a 6,000,000,000 times brighter. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. So if I made it 46 times farther, you agree that they'd be the same size. You say it would be brighter, whatever, but they'd be the same size.
As a physical object in the sky, yes. How's that?
Okay. So if we double, so the sun is about the size of a dime or a nickel. We'll go a nickel held at arm's length. All right. You can block out the sun, hold arm's length, hold a nickel up. It blocks out the sun. Okay. If we doubled the distance to the sun, 93 miles times 2, 93 million times 2, it's now a quarter of that size. We double it again. It's 4 times the distance. Mm-hmm. It's now almost the size of a star. We double it again. It's 8 times the distance. It is the tiniest star. Okay. 8 times the distance is 1 light hour. Let's double it again, right? Now it's 2 light hours away. You can't see it. Let's double it again. It's 4 light hours away. It's absolutely scientifically provably well below the threshold of your eye to be able to see something that size. Let's go double it again, 8 times farther. Double it again, 16 times farther. Double it again, 32. Double it again, 64. Mm-hmm. We're not even up to 4 light days. And you cannot see it. Let's fucking make it a light month away. Okay? A light month away. So it is beyond, it's so ridiculous. You don't need a light month. You need a couple light days and you can't see it. Light month away. So if we made Polaris 46 light months away, mm-hmm. right? That's 4 light years. No, 46 light months. You couldn't see it. Okay. You look at it, you cannot see it.
But we do see it.
You could not see it. Yeah, we do see it. So what is it? Why are all the stars the same size? Why are all of the stars in the exact same place every year? Why did none of them move? We're corkscrewing through space, traveling 4.4 billion miles, never to return to where we were before. We're corkscrewing, flying through space, moving in 4 different directions at once, but there's no parallax. None of the stars ever move.
Well,
how do you explain
we're
that?
So far away that parallax is just that slight. Like we can't sit here and say that like the night sky looks identical to the way that it did, say 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. We have no frame of reference for that. So
well, we have the pyramids that have a shaft that point right to
different conversation.
That points right to Polaris.
Well, I got an
Okay.
interesting question.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Let's have Joe come in.
I got an interesting question here.
Mhm.
I'd say in the past 50 years, the amount of satellites has quadrupled 10 times over.
Mhm.
They're out there. How come we never see a satellite floating around?
Oh, because they're just that small relative to us.
They're
The
that
same
small.
inverse square law.
You think they're that small?
I mean, if
They're
you-
that small.
The amount of space that they're taking up in our field of vision is going to be so small, but you can see them with like a
Have you ever
telescope.
seen one?
Yes, my brother actually worked for Boeing. He was a PCB engineer and
I'm
designed
not
little
talking about your
circuit
brother
boards.
looking in the eyes of Boeing. I'm talking about you walking down Clifton Boulevard and looking up in the sky and going, oh, look, there's that
No,
satellite.
just because I can't see with my naked eye doesn't
At the
mean I
bottom,
didn't.
asking, could you see? Have you ever seen one?
Yes,
You've actually seen a satellite.
yes,
floating
yes.
around.
My brother was with Boeing.
Forget your brother.
I'm bringing this up because I used to sit with him and we'd look through telescopes and we
No,
could
I'm not
see
talking about
the
this.
satellite.
That's a very specific.
I have seen a satellite. Yes.
I mean, I could see a lot of shit through a telescope. I am talking about just walking around, like you look at the sun or you look at the moon.
No, I mean with my naked eye, no, I haven't seen a satellite.
Isn't that curious though?
That I couldn't have seen it with my naked eye. I
I
mean,
mean, don't you think satellites are closer?
satellites are in close Earth orbit. Yeah, they are.
How come we've never seen one? How come the space program basically only goes to the moon?
The space program has gone into space, into near Earth orbit, has sent expeditions to Saturn, to
How do
the
we know
moon.
that?
Yeah, how do you know that?
We
Did they
have.
bring back like a Saturn souvenir from the souvenir
I mean,
shop?
did I check
Well,
in
they
at
did come
NASA
back
and
with
sign
a
in my
rocket
little?
with the letter C on it. A prop from Stanley Kubrick's
Was I?
set.
You believe we went to the moon? Just I'm not going to go down that road.
I do believe we went to the moon,
Oh.
and I also the moon landing couldn't have been CGI. And
Wait,
because-
Miles, you do believe we went to the moon?
I do believe we went to the moon,
And you call yourself a conspiracy theorist?
I mean, I think it would be a lot harder to fake the moon landing with CGI in the state that it was in the 1960s and 50s.
It wasn't done with CGI. It was done on a movie set. It was done with crappy. There's so much. We'll go there next. But you believe that you have seen satellites.
I don't believe it. I have seen satellites. I'm saying this is a statement.
How do you know you've seen a light sky that you think is a satellite? Is that correct?
No, we've looked through a telescope as he showed me a satellite that he helped send into orbit.
And but was it a light or did you actually see the actual satellite?
Was I able to read the tag on the satellite? No, but
Were you able to see? What did you see? Did you see a light moving in the sky or did you see a satellite?
No, we
saw
the
light.
To be semantic.
You saw
we saw
the reflection of a light
off
of the sun.
metal of the satellite.
Right. And amazing how the sun always reflects to your eye all the way across the sky. If you ever try to reflect the sun to somebody, it only goes to one person. It doesn't go to everybody that can see it at the same time. And as it moves, it'll lose its reflection to your eye and it won't look the same. Right. But this is what you believe. Okay. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. Where did I go? Right. This is what you believe. Okay. A 747 is a massive plane. It's about the size of a football field. It's also about the size of the International Space Station. Right. When you look up at a 747 flying at altitude, it is literally the size of a half of a pencil eraser, right? It's gray. You can barely see it. You can't see the engines. The engines are too small to see, but that's a 747. If you doubled the height, you can't see it, period. Its angular size is provably too small. You believe that you can see the International Space Station 50 times farther than that, okay? And then you also believe that you can see the engines, which is, we'll call that the satellite, okay? At even a farther distance because the satellites are farther than the space station. You believe that you can see that. Then the people that are saying, oh, Elon Musk with his Starlink, right? Starlink is even smaller. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Starlink is like the size. They're like the size of a fucking a chair. Okay. And you think you can see them and they're farther than the space station. Now, when you watch them go across the sky and then you watch the space station, they look like they're the same size. How the hell are you seeing something the size of a football field that's X distance and something the size of a living room chair that's farther than X distance and they look the same?
Well, you're not looking
That
at
is
both
faith.
with your
That is a
naked eye.
religion.
If I was using
with your naked eye. With your naked eye.
Well, we can't.
With your naked eye.
We have tools for a reason. Like I don't go hammering nails into a wall with my fist, right? Like I would
I can
use a
see it
hammer.
with my naked eye. I can zoom in on it with my camera. It's still the same size. It's still the same size.
No, telescopic lenses do, refract the light so that you do see things in a greater magnitude, right? Like if I were to use the same telescope that we use to look at a satellite on a 747, it would take up your entire field of view.
Right. So you believe that the International Space Station's in the sky, right?
Well, yeah, I believe it's in low Earth orbit.
Okay, how did it get there?
It was sent up piece by piece and assembled, in space.
And it was assembled. How did they assemble it? Did the guys on the ground help them assemble it?
No, there's a factory up there.
So
Toys R Us up there.
In preparation for this podcast, we received a bunch of, microphone stands, and, it came in an Amazon box that was significantly smaller than any of these mic stands. It came in pieces that we then had threads and
put them together. You put them together. Thank you for making my point. So the guys floating around in space are bolting this thing together with ratchets and electric drills and all sorts of stuff, right? They're assembling this in space
with those tools, but yes, it does have.
How are they doing it with their bare hands? Their bare hands? They do it with their bare hands?
No, with sufficiently advanced math in which you can line up the two ports so that they click together.
They do it with math.
Yes,
they do it with math. What tools did they use?
In space or on Earth? They used a variety of tools.
Wait, whoa, hold on. You do know that they never put it together on Earth, right? You do know that they made the pieces, they never put them together, and they sent them to space to be put together for the first time.
That's
a fact.
Raw panels up into space, if that's what you're implying. They built.
No, they sent up modules.
Yes,
the story is they sent up modules. Right. Here, this is the space station, and this is this would be the most filmed, documented construction project in history. Mission Control will be like, remove that, add this, do that. There are zero photos or video of it being built. There's just this. There's just this animation. And China just put a space station up there. They forgot to film it also. Now, different countries made different parts, and they made different connections. Like, you got a fucking square door, you got a round door. Like, what the fuck are we going to do? So they had to make an adapter. And then they put that in there, and listen, there's no video or photos of it being put together. Let me ask you a question. Is that suspicious?
I would like you to answer. How would you expect them to get the angles that you're demonstrating in this clip? Like, we're talking about space. There's not, somebody who can go up there with a camera and freely rotate around this as it's being put together.
They got cameras on their fucking spacewalks all the time. They're up there with cameras on their heads. Right, there's a camera. You don't think that they would need to film it so Mission Control could see what's going on? There's not a single photo of it being built.
We have photos of now. If you look at rocket launches now, they're being live streamed as like a spectator event.
Live stream rocket launches,
right? And you see how they mount the cameras on those rocket launches. They're like little GoPros, because you can't just launch as like a giant camera or a camera that's going to cause air resistance or drag as you're taking off from the ground.
I completely agree.
Right. So while they're up there, how do you expect them to film it? Like, what would be sufficient video proof?
Well, they got the arm. They do have cameras on spacewalks all the time. They got cameras on their heads. They got cameras strapped to their chest. Zero photos. Zero. You're in a faith-based religion. You're in a cult called space. Traveling through space, right? So let me ask you a question. If you caught SpaceX or NASA faking a rocket launch, completely faking it, would that be suspicious to you?
It would be a little odd, but my inclination would it wouldn't be. Look, I wouldn't jump to the conclusion saying that all of their shit was faked. I would jump to the conclusion of like, oh shit, they fucked up and wasted a bunch of taxpayer money. They messed up this project and they're doing a cover up. Right? That's the.
Is there a chance that
but that doesn't mean everything that they've done is all a cover up, because we do have photos from Mars, for example.
Oh, okay. Well, just one thing at a time. You're like
CGI.
We're talking about space
CGI
exploration.
Hold on. Photos of Mars. We're gonna look at photos of Mars. Give me a second. Can we get him on the screen with me? Can we put us side by side? Is that possible?
Oh,
I need your face.
Okay.
I want you on camera while we're talking.
If I can do this shot, it's
put
like
us
in
side
my
by
face.
side.
So let me just
No. Can you make? But I want to keep the other guys too. Make yours like me and put them side by side.
Oh,
can you do
unfortunately,
that?
I can't do that just with the switcher that I'm using here. So I've just
All
dropped
right.
it down there. The switcher only has one output.
No, you guys go toe to toe.
You know what? No. Go back the other way. I can't. It's better the other way.
You can't even look at. You can't even look at you.
I can't.
I mean, my question, going back to the International Space Station really quick, wouldn't these guys also be like hurling through space at ludicrous speeds trying to like screw something in? I mean, that's another factor that we haven't even talked about. It's not like they're motionless up there. They'd be also traveling at like breakneck speeds, trying to hammer something relative.
In. That's the thing, is that like if I'm moving at 50 miles an hour, I'm moving 50 miles an hour as relative to what? Things that are stationary, right?
Yeah.
So if they are moving at however 1,000 miles an hour they're moving at relative to the space station that's also moving at the exact same speed, their relative speed is 0. So they are stationary to one another.
While we're on the space station, let me just run a couple of things.
Sure.
Explain this. See his feet?
Mm-hmm.
He's got his shoes on the wrong feet. Is that just a mistake?
Wait, what am I supposed to observe about his feet?
His shoes are on the wrong feet. Just a mistake. Astronaut was in a hurry, put the wrong shoes on. I'll give it to you. I'll go with that because there's no other excuse other than they're not
expected to use their shoes for walking in space. I'm not sure what the sole of the shoe has to do with it.
Okay, so having the shoes on the wrong feet in the spacesuit, which has to be airtight, right? Does it need to be airtight in space?
It absolutely does need to be airtight in space.
Okay. You're what happens when you have a balloon like this and tie it off with this much air in it, bring it into space, bring it up into low pressure, it'll blow up like this. Bring it to Denver, it'll go from this to this, right? Agreed? You're with me.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Okay. Why doesn't he explode? He's in 0 pressure.
Well, those suits are designed to maintain that pressure and resist.
How do you design it? Because here on Earth, the Sandusky, I think that's what's called, the vacuum chamber, the walls are 10 feet thick, made out of steel and concrete, so they don't collapse when they suck the air out of it. Okay, that's how much they need. 10-foot thick. But you're saying, well, the engineering, the Velcro and the Mylar, that. Show me an example here on Earth in a vacuum chamber. You put a soda can in a vacuum chamber, it explodes. You put Stretch Armstrong in a vacuum, he explodes, right? You put anything in a vacuum chamber, it explodes. But in space, no problem. They wear their fucking snowboarding suits, they move around, and they do all of the little nonsense, okay? Right? So I have to ask you a question. If we catch them faking being in 0 gravity or using green screens, is that suspicious?
It certainly is suspicious if they're faking it. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's take a look at. All
right, Dave's about to move in for the kill here. I've seen this before.
So here's a video, and they're going to look out the window because this is the space station they're coming up with. This is on the shuttle. Sure. This is the space station. Did you see what I just saw?
It's like look at it. A bad Atari graphics.
Look at this.
Rasterized.
This is what NASA showed us. That's what NASA showed us. Do you think this is real?
It looks rasterized onto the frame.
It looks rasterized onto the frame. Okay. Let's go with this one.
It looks like Tetris or something. It does not look real.
Yeah. So
like 1985 Atari.
Here is that they do their training in an underwater pool where they have the whole ISS down there.
Right, yeah.
Well, but it's water trying to get in versus air trying to get out, but it gives them weightlessness. Why do they have a green screen? They used to have actual green screens in the pool, but this was a documentary, and right here, there's a green screen. Why do they have a green screen?
Wait, and the NASA's answer. Roll that back a little bit. That's turf.
You sure that's not a mini golf course?
Yeah, that looks like turf to me.
No, that's the actual ISS. That's in the pool.
There's a defined line right at the top of that frame where you can see where that green ends. It's a green floor, not a green background, is it?
Well, you're incorrect. There's actually they used to have green screens in the pool. All right, that's all right. I'm going to give you whatever you want. I'm going to give it to you. So is this picture a man in space?
Sure looks like it.
Yeah. So what happens if I show you that he's actually in a pool?
That looks like a great.
Okay.
Yeah. It reminds me of like those Photoshop transitions that you see on YouTube where they fade into like different elements, and the lighting on that is wrong, by the way. Like the hue, the color temperature on his spacesuit there is like not.
But I showed it to you. It's a guy in a pool. I put him in space, and you said it looks real. So you're admitting that you can't tell what's real and what's not. Okay.
That's actually
you're
what makes
admitting
AI so scary, by the way. But again, that's a tangent. What I'm getting at here, because I'm also a photographer and an editor, is that the color temperature of his suit relative to the pool of water that he's around, and the direction of the light, and the texture of the water in which the light would be traveling through, all of those things do not match up in order for this to be where that original photo was taken. In fact, the pool aspect of it does look to be photoshopped in order to justify this statement. I mean,
to me, the whole picture looks fake. Just
do you have any dressing to go with that salad? Okay, we're going with the glasses for the rest of this.
I'm being real with you. Like I work a lot with video and photo
hang
editing.
on. We're gonna go. Listen, I want to see how many things you can deny in a row.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So here's Don Pettit showing how many. Hey, in space we always have to drink out of bags, but he figured out how to take a piece of plastic and tape it together, and he could drink coffee out of a cup because he wants to drink coffee out of a cup. Right? Mm-hmm. Do you know about this story? And when he did it, so he's done, then he shows you, look, oh, it's floating, right? But watch what happens. Watch the coffee very carefully. It becomes unsynced with the bag. Is this evidence of computer graphics manipulation, of faking coffee in a floating cup?
Yeah, that certainly looks faked. 100%.
Okay.
That's a faked video there.
Okay, so NASA fakes, so 1 point for NASA faking. So Chris Hadfield loves singing, okay? Mm-hmm. He loves singing. So he's playing his guitar, right? These guys are in different rooms. This guy's holding a microphone, and he doesn't see exactly where Chris is, and the microphone gets stuck inside of Chris's neck. Is that a screw up? Is that a layering screw up? His mic is inside of his neck, okay? It's inside of his neck.
Is it taped to the back of his neck there? I'm sorry, the thumbnail that I'm looking at this through is rather small, so I'm having a hard time picking up.
Okay, well, you can go back and look at a big screen afterwards. Okay. The microphone is inside of his neck, inside of his face, okay? Mm-hmm. And that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. So now, let me ask a question. Do they need green screens on the space station?
I would certainly hope not.
Right? Okay, so watch this, right? You never get to see out the window, okay? And watch his arm. He moves it, some video compression, whatever you want to say, and all of a sudden he reveals the green screen. There it is. Green screen. Where'd that green come from?
Oh, that's actually a phenomenon called chromatic aberration, in which, the pixels that
chromatic aberration.
Yes. The pixels that we see on screen are usually RGB, right? Red, green, blue. And when videos distort, you see this often in like VLC. Whenever you get like distortion of your image where the camera is not encoding fast enough, whenever it distorts, you do get a lot of that green shift. I see this when I record like, conferences and events. If somebody knocks into my SDI connection, oftentimes
I'd like to see that where the green screen. I'd like to see it where the green screen is revealed. Okay. So here's two guys. They're having a conversation, and in the background, a guy goes floating by. Okay. Is this guy hanging from a wire and a harness that you can clearly see? Is he hanging from wires?
I can see how people would come to that conclusion, but it's also possible that he has a loose article on his belt there that's just floating also in zero gravity.
Does this guy look like he's hanging from a wires?
I can see how people would draw that conclusion. Yes, it does look like he is, but that doesn't deny the existence of zero gravity.
So now let's watch the foreground. Sure, this guy here is flipping his hat around. He's throwing his hat in the air as he's flipping it. Oh, look at my hat. And in the script, he's supposed to pass his hat to this guy, and the guy's supposed to hang it on the wall. But at one point, he moves his arm. The guy thinks he's passing it. This is called, it's a virtual reality. See, he thought that was a hat, and he puts it away. Okay, I'm looping it back and forth here. He's like, oh, and then the guy goes to hand him the hat. He's like, oh, he screwed up. And then you watch this guy. He freaks out. They can barely talk. Like massive screw up. It's called augmented reality, right? So check this out. This ball is real. This ball is filled with helium. Right. She's playing with a real ball. Is there a stuffed animal here? Is there?
I don't see a stuffed animal.
Okay, now watch. Oh, now there is. Is she playing with the real stuffed animal? Watch again. They literally beamed it in.
Wow.
They even
it
have
wasn't
the little
even good CGI either.
Okay. So now we've caught NASA twice using augmented reality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
So here's another one. These guys were doing this whole live stream, and just when it was time to go,
oh, yeah,
everything that was floating, went in, did this. All of the other stuff did not. Okay. Only the things that were floating. That shows they're on a separate layer.
Oh, that comes back to the what we were talking about earlier about the aberration, is that things that are in motion are what smear the image. Static parts of your image will not smear in the same way. You know, a lot of people will see this whenever you go.
There's things that aren't moving that
yeah, things that are stationary, those pixels don't need to be refreshed, so they're not smearing. If you were to go pirate a copy of Game of Thrones on Pirate Bay and watch it back on VLC, like you'll see like the guy's hand smear across the screen, but the background that was stationary often will stay the same. Like those pixels don't need to be refreshed. That's why there's no smearing there.
Cool story, bro.
Yep.
So let me ask a question. Have you seen where Chris Hadfield gets his washcloth and he wrings it out with water? Yep. And if you watch the whole you've seen it.
Yeah, this video I've seen yet. It's
okay,
cool.
Like
the water sticks to the washcloth. Yeah,
so cool. Mm-hmm. Did you ever count how many edits there were in it?
I didn't count. I wasn't counting for.
There's like 30. Okay, because they're doing it on a 0G plane. Well, let's watch this. It's a little hard to see. This is on a 0G plane. She's doing the exact same thing, and it looks exactly the same. How do you know that he's not on a 0G plane? Just like these guys. Okay. This is a 0G plane. These guys are 0G plane. This guy's having a hard time maintaining, right? And they use different forms. Sometimes they're hanging from wire. Sometimes they're on short clips on a 0G plane.
Yeah.
Okay?
So the way you can determine whether they're on a 0G plane or actually on the ISS is by counting how long that they're actually in seeming weightlessness. So if that video of the girl in the 0G plane can only wring it out for 30 seconds before that water comes back down to the floor where gravity reinstates itself, because
and so that's what I'm saying. There was 30 cuts in that video. And they're all different, and his shirt's wrinkled differently and everything. And then I'm showing you what it looks like on a 0G plane. It works the same.
It works the same because they're functionally in zero gravity. But Chris can maintain that effect for longer because he's actually in.
No, he can't. No, he can't, because there's never a cut more than like 10 seconds. It's edit. There's a million edits.
Like live calls, like Zoom calls to like elementary schools.
And he's not on a 0G plane. He's on wires at that time. They do different things. This guy, as he goes around the corner, he becomes transparent. You have an excuse for this one. Look at his elbow. You can see through it.
Oh,
see the wall
that looks
here?
Like a crossfade. Yeah, that does look like a transition.
Okay, so why are they doing a crossfade? Why are they just showing us go around the corner?
I don't have an answer for that one. It's just a crossfade.
How about this one?
From an editing perspective.
This guy's got a ball and he drops it. Why did it go down? This guy tries to reach it, can't, because his wires won't let him get there. Okay. Why did the ball go down? It's a helium ball. He was squeezed it. There didn't have enough helium to float, and it fell down to the ground. Okay. They said it's a pocket full of gravity. A pocket of gravity.
Pocket of gravity. That doesn't make sense.
I mean, the guy
that's what they say. They have pockets of gravity.
The guy on the left is definitely being yanked back by something. You could tell.
Yeah, because for them to be able to stand in that formation, they would have to be strapped to something. Otherwise, they would slowly drift apart. If this was truly zero gravity.
Okay, so let me show you this now. Okay, so this is a 0G plane, right?
Yep.
0G plane. 0G plane kind of looks like the ISS. 0G plane, no problem. And then this was years ago, and they don't do this anymore. This was live. I was watching. It's like Channel 7 News. They're like, we're going to have a rare live discussion with the guys on the. It might have been Skylab. It might have been the space shuttle. I forget. But they said we only have like 20 seconds of satellite time. Okay. All right. 20 seconds. What does that sound like? 0G plane. All right. And in the middle of them talking, all of a sudden they slammed into the wall. They all slammed into the wall.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they're like, oops, and they cut away. And they're like, oh, there's a shift in the station. But I want you to watch. I'm going to flip this. Okay. I'm going to, so 0G plane. Let me just go forward here a little bit. Right. So This is what happens at the end of a zero-G plane. When they're coming out of the curve, they all fall to the ground.
Yes.
So I turned it, they fall to the ground. Now watch this guy. Right here is a roll of duct tape or whatever he had and a ball. This guy catches both of them in one hand like he's done it 100 times, okay? He catches both of them. A little hard to see when it's small, right? This is the same thing. They're on a zero-G plane pretending they're on up in space, all right? There's no excuse. There's none other than you're in a cult and you can't see it.
No, like Dave, I'm always open to new information, and honestly, like the biggest takeaway for me, because I'm also learning new things here, is that yes, it does look like NASA does have some things that they do fake. I don't see how that ties into the conclusion that the Earth is flat, because even at the top of this discussion, we were talking about the sun.
Well,
admittedly, the
what
sun
proof
is a
do you
ball
have
in
that the Earth
sky.
is a globe? The only proof that we have is all from NASA, all of it. Right? There's nothing.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we knew that the Earth was round in 205 BC. I mean, the word.
Oh yeah, who told you? Who told you in 205 BC? Who? Aristophanes?
Yes, actually, the word geometry.
When you tell me about Aristophanes. Hold on.
Earth, measurement. Geometry is about measuring Earth.
I want to get into the good stuff.
I want to hear.
We haven't even gotten into the good
yeah,
stuff.
we've been talking about NASA.
I want to hear about Aristophanes.
I'm a libertarian. I thank you, Dave. Like, this has been enlightening just in that not everything that NASA puts out may be entirely truthful.
Not everything
so
the
you
government
admit-
puts out is
I'm with you on that. I'm a
No,
libertarian.
hold on. Come on. We got to keep going through this, right?
Sure.
So you admit now that NASA fakes being in space sometimes.
Sometimes, yes, I do believe.
That done. That's all you need. So NASA, or you're calling NASA liars, and we can agree on that. Okay. So now, tell me about Eratosthenes.
Sure. In 205 BC, he had an experiment in which he had 3 different wells, and the theory. So he used the unit of measurement stadia, which means stadium. But he never specified which stadium he was talking about, so it's kind of like, up in the air as far as how much distance there was between these 3 wells. But the theory is that he had 3 different wells, and if the Earth was flat, you shouldn't be able to see the bottom of all 3 wells at the same time. But if the Earth was round, one well would be obscured; it'd have shadow at the bottom, where 2 of them would actually have angles of light that would reach the bottom. And
Miles, when you're talking, you should switch to you sometimes too, so people can see you. 'Cause
Sure,
you're just like
sure.
a talking head.
Yeah,
you're
disembodied
just,
voice.
You just got a God voice right now. Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
I don't know if I can. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look away from the screen, but go ahead.
Yeah. So
They want to see how frustrated you are, Miles.
Oh, absolutely. I don't mind cutting away to myself here. I just got to take a
Come
shot.
on, you. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
There we go.
So Eris, he had that experiment. That was one version of the experiment. Was would I be able to see the bottom of the wells at the same time? I wish I had graphics. You came way more prepared than I was.
I have the graphics for you. I have it all. You're setting me up for everything
Great.
because you're
You're
telling the
saving me.
story completely wrong. And it's. I'm just listen. Just want to let you know. I am reeling you in for the pro wrestling body slam. We're going to jump off the top of the road.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to land on your fucking head.
The
Excuse
rock
my language.
bottom's
Go ahead.
coming up.
Great. So
Continue.
you probably also heard this one. Then is the sun.
No. We're staying on the fucking Aristophanes. Let me correct it. He didn't have 3 wells. He looked down a well one day. He saw the reflection of the sun. He said, that means that the sun is directly above me. Great deduction. Then he got a stick and he put it vertically and there was no shadow. He said, you know what? If I sent my buddy 500 miles away and he put a stick up at the same time, we'll see if there's a shadow and then we could do some really good math, right? And then Carl Sagan taught you on Cosmos. He goes, well, here's Eratosthenes, and you got these places 500 miles apart, and they don't have a shadow. The only way to make a shadow is if we bend it, right? We bend it. Well, and then he's going to move this one so there's no shadow, and you can measure the shadow. You can do some perfectly good math. And prove that that proves that the Earth is a globe.
Yeah. In fact,
okay.
you
No
can go a step
shadow.
further
Shadow.
and measure the circumference of the Earth based off that.
Okay. So why did he theorize that? Why would there be a shadow? Right? Because he theorized that the sun rays all come in parallel. Right? Have you ever seen parallel rays?
I mean,
have you ever seen parallel sun rays?
You can certainly sketch out parallel rays, like on.
Okay,
on
well,
diagram,
you can't because hold on. This is what when you're broken clouds. Take a look. This is what you see. There's no parallel rays. Now, some globers will go, well, that's refraction. Okay, refraction, not parallel, whatever you want. We can prove that it's not refraction. They're not parallel. So why did he think there's parallel rays? Well, he believed that they were geocentric back then, which means that we lived on a globe, according to them, and that the sun was so far away and made the rays parallel. So you got a giant sun far away that's orbiting a tiny speck Earth. That doesn't work. They forgot that they were geocentric back then. So the whole story doesn't work. Okay, but let's go to this is Eratosthenes right here. He's got no shadow. Here's his buddy 500 miles away. They were talking to each other. They had a can and a string, and they pull it really tight. Like, hey, put the stick up, okay? Right? And what? And then he's like, I got a shadow. It's 3 feet long. Let me do the math. Oh, the Earth is, the radius. And they figured it out, and it was amazing. They got it within less than 2% of what it supposedly is.
It was 1 to 15%.
Right, first,
margin of error there. Yeah.
Do you know how he measured 500 miles? His buddy. You know how he measured it? He counted his steps. Guy's amazing. Right. He counted his steps for 500 miles. Never lost track. Okay. So here on a flat Earth with a small local sun, here's Eratosthenes, no shadow. Here's his buddy, shadow length. Can do the same math and figure out that this flat surface is a sphere. Okay? It works on both. It doesn't prove the Earth is a globe, but this is their number one proof. It doesn't prove it. The sun is clearly, and the moon, clearly local within our sky.
Well, we can observe this like with our own experiments, even not going way back to 205 BC. If you and I were to go to the
wait, hold on. I want to hear about this experiment, but first, what's the oldest book that talks about this amazing mathematician Eratosthenes that figured out the shape of the Earth? What's the oldest book?
Would you like to enlighten me? I don't know the name of the book.
It was in the mid 1900s. Don't you think somebody would have written a friggin' book about this Michael Jordan of friggin' math back then? Right? He figured out the shape of the Earth. That was never mentioned until the mid 1900s.
That's interesting that you mentioned that it was mentioned in the mid 1900s or 19th century, because the whole
1900s.
The debate around flat Earth didn't really come back into the public conversations up until around the 1800s, which is who do you know? How do you know that? Who did you talk to? Did you talk to Ruth? This is Ruth, 102 years old. I was interviewing her about the World's Fair, okay? And she said in public school here in Connecticut that when she was in middle grade school, they taught them that the Earth was flat. In public school here, okay? We have newspaper articles, okay, talking about teachers being persecuted for trying to teach the globe Earth in the 1900s, okay? This is a brand new deception that was basically put in after the wars, right? They were teaching flat Earth and globe Earth into the 1950s, right? But
in public school here in America.
I'm not to point to anybody and say you're wrong or you're wrong. Like in the same way that you're going to come forward and say, hey, I'm trying to bring the truth forward, you're combating misinformation from your perspective. And in my perspective, I'd come forward and say, hey, I'm combating misinformation. So the persecution of, somebody saying you shouldn't be teaching flat Earth, like we should be trying to root out misinformations from our schools. Whatever you believe the truth is, you should fight for your truth. So I'm not arguing that.
You said that they've known for 2,000 years, right? You know what the Antikythera mechanism is?
Oh, this is super cool. Yeah, it's a computer that can basically detect the positions of the stars, and it was around since
based on a flat Earth. Based on a flat Earth. It's a flat Earth model.
It's still based on geometry. It calculates.
No, it's a flat Earth model. You want to use geometry, you can't use geometry on a sphere.
How can you?
You can't use geometry on a sphere, right? The astrolabe is a flat Earth. You cannot. Okay, let me ask you a question. How do you make a right angle on a sphere? I'm standing vertical right now. Mm-hmm. How do I make a right angle? I want to make a triangle, and I want it to shoot out 1 mile right angle. How do I make a right angle on a curved surface?
Sphere, but then you'd create a tangent to that sphere. right?
A
Like, we're
tangent.
getting into-
So
we're getting into
what are you
trigonometry.
saying? There's no parallel lines?
I did not.
There's
say
no
that
horizontal
parallel lines.
lines? Is I'm standing, am I on a horizontal line or on a horizontal point?
There, you can't have a horizontal point. A point doesn't have a vector. So you
Okay. Is there such thing as a horizontal line on a globe Earth?
There's certain, yeah, of course. And like, again,
How?
the scale
How?
is what's important. So for me, like I'm standing here, and to me, the Earth, like the ground that I'm standing on, is flat. It's flat relative to my scale, right? If I had a model of the Earth in which it was shrunk down to the size of a fist, right? Like, you know, if I were to put a straight line that looks like a straight line relative to me, it would be bigger. Than
How much curvature is there in 1 mile? How much does, if I'm standing on the top of the ball, I'm standing right here, okay? 1 mile perpendicular, horizontal to my feet, how much does the Earth drop away?
You'd have to travel about 6 to 8 miles to get a few centimeters of drop off. A few centimeters.
Okay, you're wrong. Okay, it's 8 inches for the first mile. Do you know how much it is if you go?
That's crazy. Like the first mile, like you would have to. How? What?
So
do you
that's
think?
not actually happening, Miles. It's just that's the math that we're being told.
Yeah, and you had it right before. So hold on a second. Hold on. Listen. Do you believe in the Pythagorean theorem?
Yes.
You want me to remind you what it is, or you good?
No, a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Very good. And you have to have a right angle. So pay attention. Look at the screen. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay. If we make, so we have me standing here and we draw a line out. That's A. Okay. And B is the bottoms of my feet to the center of the Earth. So we use the radius, the Eratosthenes radius of the Earth. Okay.
Okay. So
So we have the drop would be from here to the surface of the Earth. That would be the drop. So let's put in some numbers. We have 3963 is the radius. That would be A or B. Then we have, let's go out 100 miles, right?
okay.
So we go out 100 miles. We square those numbers. And the hypotenuse is 15,000 feet. And then we divide to make it
That's like 15
miles.
15 million
And
feet.
we find out this is the number of feet. And we change it to miles. It's 1.26 miles, which is exactly 8 inches per mile squared. It comes out perfectly. Okay. So in 1 mile, there's 8 inches. In 2 miles, there's 32 inches. In 3 miles, there's 6 feet of curvature on your cartoon ball. Okay. 6 feet of curvature in 3 miles. That means if you're standing at the edge of perfectly calm water, not a friggin' ripple or a tidal bulge, right? You cannot see the surface of that water beyond 3 miles because it's dropped 6 feet. If you're 6 feet tall, you're standing there, you can't see the surface of the water beyond 3 miles because it's dropped below the physical curve.
Yeah, this
okay?
is observable if you were to go out to the marina and watch a ship.
It's
take
not
off.
observable. It's not observable.
If you were to watch
okay?
a ship take off from the marina and sail off into the horizon, you would observe that it disappears from the hull first down
From
to
the
mouth.
bottom up.
Okay, so Dave,
Right.
bring it on. Just knock him out
know
right
what I'm
here.
doing.
Knock him out right here.
Matt knows the
No,
answer
just
to that
knock
one.
him out
Am I
right
missing
here, 'cause
something?
I get-
Listen, you
Yeah.
can take over for me. You can take over. So listen.
Hand me the
So
steel
check this
chair.
out.
I got it.
Check this out. Check it out. So clouds, you got a nice cloud deck above you, 5,000, 10,000 feet, whatever it is. 20, 30 miles away, those clouds look like they're touching the water. That's just due to perspective, right? Everything just gets closer. And the point where that atmospheric deck meets the ground, that's a horizontal line, right? It's a horizontal line. It's right at your eye level.
From our
Okay.
perspective down on the
That's
ground,
called the
I guess.
horizontal eye zone. Okay. That's where you can see. Right. And then if something is there, if I zoom in with today's optics, you love today's optics, we make this bigger and then we can see farther. And if we zoom out, it'll just come back together again. So here we go. Do you see a ship out here? No. But if I'm zooming in and I start making this bigger and bigger and bigger, all of a sudden you go, oh, look, there is a boat there. There is a boat there. Now watch. These little waves, this isn't flat water. These little waves, can my finger block that boat out? No, it can't. But if my finger was a wave in the foreground, it'll block the whole boat. Look, it's disappearing from the bottom up. Is it
Yeah,
going
actually,
over the
this
curve?
This is back to the top of the conversation that we were talking about with the inverse square law, right? And as we zoom into something, we are bending that light using that lens in order.
We're not bending the light. We're just increasing the aperture.
Well,
We're zooming in, making it bigger. I can't hear you. The microphone is cutting out.
I'm sorry. Let me try to reconnect this.
No, it's fine now. It's fine now.
Bending the light. Inside, within the glass, there are multiple lenses.
So what are you saying? This boat is over the curve?
I'm saying if you were to watch it disappear, it would disappear from hull to mast.
The bottom up.
It would sink.
It's disappearing from the bottom up. It's because these little waves in the foreground of my finger. Can my finger hide my entire face?
No, not at this. Not
yes,
at
it can.
Distance. As you could, approach the camera, then it will.
Okay. So do you think? So you can't see the surface of the water beyond 3 miles.
Mm-hmm. Not with the naked.
Do you think that boat's getting smaller? Look, can I hide this ball behind my finger?
Not from that distance, but as you pull the ball away.
But if I take the boat, take it away, look, it goes right behind my finger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These little waves in the foreground are hiding the smaller things in the background. Okay? So here, let me give you another one. So we have so this is what I call my wave. Whoops, that's not what I wanted.
Joe, you've been kind of quiet. You got any comments to make?
Oh, he's so absorbed in the conversation.
Joe's on the edge of his seat here.
Because Joe joined this conversation as the skeptic, like where he was like, it might be, it might not be. Like, I'm interested to hear both sides of the conversation. So I feel like if anybody's getting the most benefit out of this.
So here we go. So here we go.
Hold on, Dave. Hold on. Let Joe jump in.
What you're just saying, Scal, is interesting. But I have one thing to throw at you: sunburn.
Sunburn. Okay.
Sunburn. Why don't we get sunburn? Yeah. Why don't we?
Why do you get sunburn?
It's the UV rays coming off the sun, right? And it's damaging the epidermis layer of your skin as the UV. I'm not a doctor.
Why are we getting sunburn from the moon?
Why
are we getting sunburn from any of these stars out there that are so bright? Why are we just getting it from
They're
the sun?
sufficiently far enough that
and why hasn't the sun disappeared? It wasn't when I remember when I was a kid, they were talking about it's this gas. It's just slowly going to dissipate.
It will
in like
disappear
5 billion
in about
years.
Is the theory in about 3 to 5 more billion years before the sun.
So let me ask you a question. How long has the sun been around? Long time, billions of years, right? Billions of years.
About 5 billion years.
According to science.
5 billion years. Okay. So the sun has a certain amount. So once upon a time, there was nothing. It exploded, created everything. And then all of the hydrogen and helium and gases just decided to collapse upon each other and make this giant sun, where a photon at the middle of the sun takes 1 billion years to get to the surface. It's fucking great. That's the coolest story ever. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you have all of this mass that's holding on to all of the planets and everything, ignores all the moons, but holds on to the planets. And then the planets hold on to their own moons because their gravity doesn't share the sun's gravity. And it's just
we got to get into gravity next. But go back. Let's see your video.
But I want to finish this right here.
Yeah, right.
All right. So the point there with the gravity is I just want to just make the side point. If the sun lost 1 billion pounds of mass a day, do you think over billions of years its gravity would change?
Ever so slightly, yes, because gravity.
Okay.
Is a function
What if it did 100 billion tons of mass a day? Do you think its gravity would change? Since its inception?
Because, gravity is a function of mass.
Okay. Do you know that nothing ever changes? That the sky is a better clock than any quartz watch, any Rolex? The sky keeps better time than any clock, any watch on Earth, because it's a perfect precision instrument. Okay. But the sun reduces in mass by 604 billion tons every single day since it was born. And nothing has changed. Nice cult. So what is this? What is this line here? What is this line here? Okay. That's the horizon. So you can't see the water because it's below the curve, right? That horizon look flat?
That horizon does look flat.
Okay. All right. So you have no idea what you're looking at here. Okay. What am I seeing here? Is this the horizon and a floating boat?
Yeah, no, it's a mirage.
It's a mirage.
Yeah, it's a refraction of light.
It's a refraction. So the boat is over the curve and refracting up, stopping at eye level, trying to fool us that the Earth is flat, right?
Actually, yes. You see this with cities too. Like if you were to go to the Great Lakes, or
I'm not asking you about that. I'm asking you what's going on in this picture.
It's a mirage.
Where is this boat? Is it floating in the air? Is it below the curve?
No, it's light being reflected back into our eyes over the curve of the Earth, though that boat itself is beyond the horizon.
You ready? You guys ready? You guys ready?
Wait, let's see.
Okay. Here's the land that I photoshopped out of the picture that's behind it. This boat is just on the point where the mirage of the sky, the mirroring of the sky happens. It's still on the water there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still on the water. Okay. And then when I compare it, right here, all I did was take out this chunk of land.
Mm-hmm.
And you think a boat is, you said it's refracting up, it's over here. This is just where the sky mirages into the land. This is as far as you can see. This boat, the horizon is way, way out there. Okay. I got another one to show you.
That's a very creative use of Photoshop, and like, you know, I appreciate the effort there. Though mirages are a well documented effect, you know, natural phenomena.
Mirages do happen, but they're not perfectly clear. They're not perfectly clear things that imitate what a flat Earth does, right? Because you have to believe your refraction pops things up and stops everything at eye level, even though they're all rising at different distances. The farther it is, the farther up it has to go. But everything magically stops at eye level, and to try to, you know, like the Earth is conspiring to make you think that it's flat. It's kind of weird, right? So have you seen this photo? Oops, that's not what I want to show you. Hold on. Have you seen this photo? Little floating ship?
No, I haven't seen this photo.
Yeah, well, what's going on there with that ship?
Looks like a ship floating in the sky.
Yeah, it looks like the water.
So is that a mirage?
In this instance, it looks like we can see the clouds beyond the boat, and they seem to be cut off
See
by
the clouds?
what would be the beyond the horizon there, assuming it's not photoshopped again, right? Like
It's not Photoshopped. Not
Photoshopped.
Photoshopped.
At face value here.
You're not Photoshopped.
But
So
it does seem
so
like the
is
water is the same color as the sky, which blends the two together, even though the clouds beyond
right.
it are.
So when I change the levels, you can just see that the boat's sitting on the water. That's all it is.
Mhm.
The horizon's up here. Okay, right?
Right.
So, you know, a lot of Globers will say, you know, they'll use a water level and say, okay, you know, this shows level. Here's the horizon, right? But then when we go into it, whoops, not what I wanted. We go here, we got this floating ship here. Well, the reality is the horizon is all the way there, right? Because when you line your eye up with this, and this is just a graphic I put in here, that's where the horizon is. It's all the way here beyond the ship. This is just smooth water reflecting a nondescript sky. It happens all the time. It's only when there's land in the distance or clouds in the sky does the effect go away. But people would swear that is the horizon. Okay, but the truth is, when you do the math and you actually look at things, you'll see that that they're farther than they can be. This is Skunk Bay, no tide here. Okay. And just during the day, time lapse, the beach disappears, the buildings disappear. This is just atmospheric. This is your miraging right here. But at any point, you know, people say, well, it's over the curve. It's not over the curve. You know, the curve changes every day. It's absolutely.
Well, Dave, I think I told you on our little pre-show that I did a paper on flat Earth for my college, and
that's right. You're going in for your master's, right? I don't think you mentioned that at the top of the show.
Yeah. So I'm going for my master's, and my professor let me do a paper on flat Earth. And there's actually a spot here. We're in New Jersey. I think it's called Washington's Rock. And on a clear day, if you look towards New York City, you can see it. If you turn around and look the other way, you can see Philadelphia. So if you factor in the math of what they tell us the Earth's circumference is and the 8, you know, every mile the curve is this amount, and then it doubles and it doubles and it doubles, it would be impossible to see both of those cities from that point. So, I mean,
every day there's new proofs that are coming out. There was just one just the other day. The guy sent me some stuff, and I'm not that great with Google Earth, but Taboo Conspiracy put it together. The guy saw a mountain 660 miles away, some new world record, and factoring in the viewing height and the mountain and the Earth curve and giving every benefit of the doubt to the globe, the very top of that mountain should have been over 40 miles or something below the curve, a ridiculous number.
Yeah, so
but we can see the whole mountain
Miles,
can
how
see
would
the-
you explain any of that?
Yeah.
You know, from your perspective, how would
Right.
you explain that I can see New York and Philadelphia from this rock on the same day?
Refraction, mirage,
Yes.
refraction, mirage.
Right. Thank
So,
you, Dave. Thank you. It
so-
seems like you're learning.
yeah,
too.
so let me ask you a question. This camera is 1 foot off the ground and 9.4 miles to this. Now, 9.4 miles in your mind, there's no curvature, but there is. There should be 59 feet of curvature. We can see the surface of the water for miles and miles and miles beyond this, right? So in your world, right? Your world, the water, if this is where the rig is, the water here has to go up that much. The water here has to go up that much. The water here has to refract up that much to create a flat horizon. Okay. That's ridiculous. That's absolute insanity. I'm going to show you one more because you guys know what I'm going to show. And this is, this is your refraction argument. Here's a view out here, 175 miles away is Mount Canigou. Can't see it because the top of Mount Canigou from this viewing point should be well over a half a mile, closer to a mile below the curve. Can't see it. Earth must be curved, right? But do you see me or do you see the light that's bouncing off of me?
I see the light that's bouncing off of you.
Of course, because if we turn the lights off, we can prove it. You won't be able to see me, right? What's brighter, the light that's bouncing off of me or the actual light that's reflecting on me?
Well, it would be the light that's hitting you.
Of course. Very good. Very good. Very good. So the source of light. So the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou is having a hard time pushing 175 miles through the soup, and it doesn't get to us, and it just looks like sky because it just can't get to it. However, the sun, it does its yearly migration between the two tropics, and twice a year it lines up with that viewing point and Mount Canigou. And when it does, it backlights it because the sun's light can push 175 miles. And here's the top of Mount Canigou that should be over a half a mile below the curve. But there it is. In your world, the sun is already set. The mountain's already over a mile below the curve, and it's refracting up and giving us this cool mirage, right?
Yeah.
That's your world.
Yeah, because in this case, yes, I'm not going to reuse the refraction and mirage, right? Because like that's been established as an argument that I'm presenting. The other point that is included in this is that as the sun sets behind those mountains are casting a shadow, which is why we see the shadow of those mountains. What we're seeing there.
That's a shadow. That's a shadow.
Yes, that's a shadow.
That's a shadow. How do you have a shadow in the air above the sea?
It's blocking the light source.
The light source is coming up around the curve, bending, and we can see it. So if I had a light below here, and I put something in front of the light, you're going to be able to see it up here. The light blocking, dude. You are clinging to a religion. You are clinging to a religion.
Well, okay, all right, Dave. Why does physics conspire to make every physical object round, naturally occurring, right? Cells are round, like they look flat under a microscope, right?
Believe in
But they're
cells.
they're cells. What do I believe in cells? Yeah, I'm sorry. That was rude. That was rude. I'm sorry. Listen, I mean, just when we look up into the night sky, we established at the top of this conversation that the sun is a ball, right? And that Earth
We
is
did?
flat.
We did. No. It looks circular for sure. Okay.
It looks circular.
It
from
looks
every
circular,
angle.
right?
Okay.
It does it.
Okay, so
Is it-
here.
is it
work
a
with the flat Earth
sphere?
model for a second. Let's work with the flat Earth.
Hold
model
on.
for a second.
I got you. Let me. So I have 4 moons here. Are they all spheres?
If it is rotating, then yes, it is a sphere. If it's flat,
Okay,
like that,
good
then it looks
answer.
like
Good
that.
answer. Because we're going to pick up the first one here, and it's a half a sphere. But yeah, you only got to see one side. Is the second one a sphere?
Wait, are we implying that the moon and the sun are a conspiracy? Like that?
I'm asking you a question. Let me show you. Is
Sure.
this one a sphere?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly? So
Yeah.
the moon is possibly a sphere, or is it a
I'm
sphere?
looking at a 2D image, Dave.
You're looking at the moon. Is it a 2D image? You don't know it's a 3D image. You're looking at the moon, and this one, is it a sphere or not? Give your answer.
Yes, it's a sphere.
Okay. It's flat, right? It's flat. Is this one a sphere?
Yes, it's a sphere.
That one's a sphere.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You got one. Nope, sorry, you didn't get one. It's a cup. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So unless you can touch it and measure it, you have no idea how far it is or how big it is or what it is or the shape of it. Okay. For example,
It'd be great if we can
is
go
this
there.
the sun or the moon?
That looks like a flashlight.
Okay. Is it round?
It looks.
Is it a
round.
sphere?
No, it's a light source. It might
It's a
not be
padiddle.
sphere. It
It's
looks
It's
like
a light
who's-
source. Is it one light? Is it 10 lights? What is it? Tell me what it is.
it's
What
insufficient
shape is
evidence
it?
to determine the shape is my answer.
Okay,
It's a
just like
realistic-
everything in the
it's a
sky.
realistic answer.
Perfect. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How many lights is this?
It looks like one.
Okay, it looks like one. It kind of looks spherish. If it was in the sky and there was no trees around it and you couldn't see the ground, you would say, okay, it's definitely a sphere. When we look at it, it's the front of a train. It's 8 lights.
Right.
And there's rectangular lights, but everything in the distance, the sides and the top, it all comes together and everything, square, multiple lights, whatever, all turns into spheres, period. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the moon is a sphere. I think that Saturn is a sphere with a ring around it. Okay.
Oh.
I think the sun is spherical. Okay. But the lights in my ceiling are spherical. My floor is not. Okay.
Right, but why would Earth be the only thing that's different there? Again, physics conspires to make things.
Wait. Why is Earth
like-
the only thing different? Why? What?
a
Why are
raindrop
you
falling out of the
comparing?
sky
Why are
is
you
like this
comparing the
drop of
Earth that you
water.
stand on to lights in the sky? Why are you comparing the Earth that you stand on to lights in the sky?
Because they're all physical objects. I mean, like when we
Are the wait? How do you know that they're physical
Well,
objects?
we established that Saturn is a planet, right? Can we start there? Earth is a planet.
Saturn's a
Mars
planet?
is a planet. Yeah, Saturn is a planet.
What's a planet?
A planet is an exo. How would I say this? Exostellar. That's not quite the right word. Saturn is a body of mass out there in space that is neither luminescent, right? It's not emitting light. It's not a gas cloud. It's not small enough to be an asteroid or anything.
How do you know? What's this?
Mars, maybe?
That's Mars.
Light in the sky, yeah.
It's a light in the sky. I don't know what this is. It's a little out of focus, but what's this cymatic pattern we're seeing? Okay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we seeing there?
You're seeing
right?
grain from a camera. So the way cameras
Is
work,
this
the
a
way
real
cameras-
picture of Mars or did I make this with an old basketball and a potato? Which one is it? I'm asking you. Because you
Honestly,
know.
following the patterns that we've been going through so far, it's probably an old basketball and a potato.
Well, guess what? You're probably right, but it's from NASA. It's their latest photo of Mars. Okay. But you know what? Nothing new here. You already admitted NASA lies. Here's another lie. Okay. Another lie. Right.
Okay.
So you said that there's photos of Mars. Whoops. Where'd it go? That's not what I wanted.
So
right?
so
hold on.
To
Hold on.
answer your earlier question,
This-
you asked me what that flickering of the light source was, and when we deal with cameras, there's the exposure triangle, which is the shutter speed. You have your ISO, which is your camera sensitivity, and you have your focal length. Right? How wide is the camera opening? How fast is your shutter moving, and how sensitive is your
Yeah.
camera sensor?
Fantastic.
As more
Fantastic. Cool story.
sensitive that sensor is in the dark, you're going to get that grainy, distortion that you're seeing there because it creates grain. in the
Okay.
camera
What are we
focus.
seeing here? This is Mars.
Mhm,
And we could tell the rover took it because it always gets a little selfie of its shoulder.
mhm,
This is Greenland.
right?
You notice any similarities?
Two planets have hills.
I mean, it's an identical picture.
It's identical. Look at the little tufts. Look at everything. Okay.
Yeah, I do believe
It's the
one of
same.
leftist photos-
They just put a tint on this one, took the clouds out of the sky, and stuck the rover in the corner.
There are
This
no
is from
plants on
NASA's
Mars.
website.
Is there other
What?
plants? Are those is it showing plants there, or is that rock? The image there. On
Well,
the
you
left.
can't tell. It rocks, plants, whatever. But this is Greenland. This is Mars. So there's two choices. One, somebody took the Mars picture and converted it to make it look like Greenland, or someone took the Greenland picture and put a red tint on it and said they're on Mars.
Well, there's a third choice. Mars is identical to Greenland except orange.
Yeah. Right?
Mars is Greenland.
Mars-
is Greenland.
Greenland. Mars, Greenland, right? And
Okay.
and like, well, why would they go to Greenland. Well, here we are, Google Earth. We're going to zoom into Greenland. All right. We're going to zoom in. Oh, what is this little location here? Okay, let's go down to ground level, look around. What are we going to see? Oh, what's that? A little zoom in. This is the Mars project.
Oh, super cool.
Okay. We found the Mars project on Greenland. Let's look. There's another truck with a Mars logo, with a NASA logo on it. Okay. And then when we zoom out, let's see, there's things we can click on. And look, roving the Arctic.
Yeah.
Are they rubbing it in our face? Okay. Why are they in this remote island?
Had street view of their base of operations, don't you think? Like,
Listen, this is in the middle of nowhere. You can't get there. Why are they practicing there? Why don't they just create something?
That's great, because it's a hospitable environment. It's a hostile environment. It's a great place to test being alone in small capsules.
All right, so they fake pictures of Mars from Greenland. They test in Greenland. They show us Mars on their website from that's actually Greenland. But you're still making excuses for them.
I mean,
do you know why? People climb Everest every year.
Are often the correct ones.
So let me ask a question. People climb Everest every year, right?
Yes.
Okay. And people die up there probably almost every year, and their bodies are still there.
Yeah, it's too expensive and too dangerous to bring them back down.
Well, why can't they just get a helicopter and go get them?
The atmosphere is too thin for a helicopter.
Oh, okay. What percentage of the atmosphere is on the top of Everest? Compared to down here, let's say 100% at sea level. At the top of Everest, what is it, 50%?
Am I allowed to Google this, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
No. Yeah. Well, you can, but let's just skip by that. It's let's say it's 20%, 50, even 50%. When you jump, they had people jump from high altitude balloons and their parachutes won't open. When we send a balloon up to 120,000 feet and it's falling down, the parachute doesn't open until like 60, 70,000 feet because there's not enough air.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You
with me?
Air resistance, yeah.
Right. So you believe we have a rover on Mars?
I do.
Okay. So they dropped the rover on Mars. Mars has 1% of the atmosphere that we have at ground level, less up higher. And they dropped it. And this is the shot it gets. How did the parachute open? How did the parachute open?
Even the little drone that they put on the Mars rover.
How did it fly?
Designed in order to compensate for the thinner atmosphere of Mars.
Oh, okay. So let me ask a question. Why don't we design helicopters here on Earth so we can go up to the top and save people on the top of high mountains? Why don't we do that?
So here's an unpopular opinion for all the viewers at home, but human life isn't invaluable. Like, human life does have a price. There's no need for us to create those like kinds of technologies necessarily.
Well, we could do it from Mars. We could do it from Mars.
But there is
bodies.
But the technology's been created, Miles.
Yeah.
What, to like the drone you're saying, to send those drones up and collect bodies at the top of Everest?
No, if the technology has been created to do this on Mars, why not just use that technology to get the people off of the mountain?
Yeah.
What's the financial incentive to that?
Okay.
I know that's a cool
listen, he's in a cult.
Wow.
Right? So let me ask you a question. What is this? Do you know what this is?
That's the rover, the drone.
Interestingly enough, our next episode is on narcissism.
Oh,
this is not. Now, hold on a second. This is not a picture of the drone.
That's
this
the mosquito
is a drone
from Jurassic Park.
That's a mosquito.
No. This is the drone. I want to see your face when you answer this.
Sure.
This is the drone taking a picture of its shadow on the ground.
Okay.
How does a drone fly in 1% atmosphere?
With faster propeller speeds.
Faster propeller. Very good. How is it taking a picture of its propellers?
It's a frame. It's a single frame.
You cannot have it. Is it taking how fast do those propellers have to spin to fly in 1% atmosphere? They have to spin 100 times faster than a regular. There's zero cameras that can capture that. You'd have to have like 10,000 frames a second to catch that. Do you think they got a camera that can operate in 250, 300 degrees below zero? That has a camera that can actually photograph a single frame? You're in a cult. You're a religious fanatic.
What the shutter speed was for that camera.
Why don't you go look it up? Because it doesn't exist.
Sure.
It doesn't exist.
Can we look that up? I can look that up.
Yeah, go ahead, Miles. Look it up,
Yeah.
and then So, Dave, I'm going to ask you a question. And then I'm going to turn it over to Joe because he just seems to be like a kid in a candy store in this episode.
Oh my
I gotta
God.
see it, just the smile on
Oh my
his
God.
face. What do you think? Two questions, Dave. What do you think the moon actually is, and what would you say to Pink Floyd?
Well, Pink Floyd screwed everybody up. They said the dark side of the moon, and the heliocentric model, there is no dark side of the moon. It's the back side of the moon, but that's lit sometimes if you believe in the heliocentric model, which is just nonsense.
I mean, is there another side to the moon, or is it just?
I don't know. There might be. I don't know. The moon is clearly and obviously its own light because it's lit up during a full moon. It's lit equally edge to edge. Okay, and you can't have that.
Joe believes that the other side of the moon that we can't see is from the opening to the honeymooners. What would you say to that?
Well, when he says, Alice, to the moon, whatever, I love you to the moon. Well, that's not that far. Okay. Right. The moon is not that far. It's very close. The sun is very close. And I think the sun and the moon that we see are optical. We all see them in a position relative to our own in our azimuthal grid of vision, something that your producer won't be able to understand.
Yeah, like my parents think I'm a total lunatic, and my dad and I like to smoke.
Well, I totally have to agree with him that the moon and the sun are not that far.
No, they're in our atmosphere.
I
They're
mean,
in
we
our
see
atmosphere.
them.
When you look at a moon, when you look at a full moon, it's lit equally edge to edge, right? But when you go outside and find out one of these, cement balls, is that reflecting light that you can read by to cast your shadow, right? This is high noon, right? And I'm right next to this thing. This should be 60 times brighter than the sun, right?
Interesting phenomenon about that, actually, because the moon is in a vacuum. Genuinely, light reflects differently while on the surface.
Well, let me ask this question to
to
Miles.
Prove it. Prove it, dude.
Let me take.
I would love to.
Real quick. Hold up.
You can't prove it.
Hold up.
Light does not reflect differently. Yes,
Dave, hold on. Gather your thoughts. I'm going to jump in on Miles there.
Sure.
So, my dad and I, again, I was saying my dad, thinks I'm a lunatic for believing this. But we like to smoke cigars, and we were out back not long ago smoking cigars, and we looked up at the moon, and there were clouds in very close proximity to the moon that were lit up. But if you look, a little bit to your right, those clouds are dark. How do you explain the moon being 237,000 miles away, yet lighting up clouds that are very close to it in the sky, but not lighting up clouds? Yeah, there you go. There's a picture. So how do you explain that if the moon is so far away that it's only lighting up those clouds that are local to it in the sky? If it were 237,000 miles away, it should be lighting up more of those clouds. Dave, do you have the flashlight trick that you can do, or you have a video of that? But Miles,
you mean with the
well, it's like if I put a flashlight on this water bottle, it would light it up really big, but this would be the only thing it would light up. But if I pulled it away, now all of a sudden it's going to start lighting up the areas around it. So if I'm bringing it this close to the water bottle, like that moon is to those clouds, why is it only lighting up those clouds that are local to it in the sky and not every cloud in the sky? What would you say to that?
That's an interesting question. I don't have an exact answer off the top of my head.
Could it be that it is much closer than we are told?
The moon that we see is very close to these clouds. Well, like open an airplane, I would hit the moon. Well, it moves as you move. Let me show you I'll touch on this, but I don't think he's gonna be able to grab it. So
I want to talk about flight patterns too next.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So, where is it? Okay. So here I got a sheet. I got a 10 feet on the other side. I got a square light. It looks circular. All right. And Paige is over here. And I said, hey, where do you see the moon? Right. So I'm over here. She's over here. I move the camera over her. She sees it right there. If I put a quick X as a Sharpie on that sheet, that X is over here. And we're both looking at the same thing in two different positions. That's how we see the sun and the moon. Right? If we're standing on the beach 20 feet apart, 2 miles apart, and the sun's setting, we're both going to see the sun walking on the water coming right to the edge of our feet, or we're not going to see it on each other. I'll look over to you. I don't see the light. I see the light coming to me. You see the light coming to you. That is because maybe we have a personal relationship with the sun. I don't know. That walks on the water, that keeps us warm, that feeds us. Right? That dies on the 21st of December and is resurrected on the 25th. I don't know. A lot of similarities there. Something's going on.
Yeah,
Somebody hijacked that story.
And what about eclipses? They're on like a clock. If we were moving at 1 billion miles per hour, corkscrewing through space, how would we be able to time the eclipses? I mean, is everything just
because
moving
we would
with
know,
us?
we would be able to know when the Earth is between the moon and the sun, right? Because like as the Earth is rotating and we're rotating around the sun, eventually that moon comes around to the shadow of the Earth. And it's an interesting point that you bring up eclipses, because the shadow that the Earth casts on the moon is in fact curved, right? Like when you look at the shadow of an eclipse,
That's if you believe that you're looking at the shadow of the Earth.
No, this is an observation. It's an observation of the shadow of the Earth on the moon, and that you can see the curvature.
That's not
of the
necessarily 100%.
Earth. It's an observation.
Right. No,
How do you know that that's the Earth?
We agree that an eclipse is the shadow of the Earth.
No,
we do not.
What is an eclipse?
Dave,
We do not.
What is an eclipse?
So what? A solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse?
We're talking no.
we're talking about the lunar
I think we're
first.
talking
Oh, hold on. Let him answer the question. I know the question. I just want him to know the question. Okay. So what are we talking about? Lunar or solar eclipse?
Talking about a lunar eclipse.
Okay. And what do you think causes a lunar eclipse? And explain what a lunar eclipse is.
So a lunar eclipse is a lunar eclipse is actually when the moon eclipses the sun, right? What do you mean the moon eclipses the sun? A lunar eclipse is when the moon eclipses the sun. No, you're wrong. You want me to tell you what a lunar eclipse is? Might have them reversed. But there's two types of eclipses, lunar and solar, right? One is when the moon eclipses the sun, and one is when the Earth eclipses the moon.
So a lunar eclipse is when the Earth eclipses the moon. How does the Earth eclipse the moon?
The Earth eclipses the moon when the Earth moves between the sun and the moon, casting its shadow on the moon. Very good. Look at my example right here. Look. Okay. Can you see? Am I on the screen? I'm not even on the screen. Look at that. No. So actually, hold on. Yeah. Okay. So here you go. I got the sun here. Mm-hmm. I got the moon here, and I got the Earth here. Is an eclipse happening right now? No. Is there an eclipse right now? No. How about now? Is there an eclipse?
You're getting closer.
Getting closer.
No.
Very good. Okay. When there is so this moon or the sun has to drop down a little more to get in alignment. So now we have an eclipse.
We're beginning to see the shadow of the Earth, right? Because the top of the
wait, hold on. You're on target. Get ready. I'm climbing up the ropes. Okay. You're laying down. Okay, face down.
He's about to drop the elbow, Miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now the eclipse is starting. Where is the shadow? The shadow on the moon? Is it here or is it here?
The shadow of the moon? You mean the shadow of the
Earth? No, the Earth is casting a shadow on the moon.
Right.
Where is the shadow? On the top of the moon or the bottom of the moon?
It should be on the bottom of the moon.
Very good. That is in the heliocentric model. That's exactly what should happen.
Okay.
However, you ever hear of a Seleninian eclipse? There's been over 50 documented eclipses where the observer can see the sun above his horizon, the moon above the opposite horizon, and the eclipse starts. That's impossible. Worse than that, the eclipse comes in from the top of the moon.
Interesting.
Okay. So you have the sun, the Earth, and the moon, and the eclipse comes in from up here.
Okay.
While both of them are above the horizon of the person standing on top of the Earth, right? Because wherever you are is the top of the Earth. Both are above. They're not in alignment, and the shadow comes in from the top. What does that tell you? It tells you only one thing. It doesn't tell you what causes an eclipse. It tells you what's not causing an eclipse, and that's the Earth.
In this instance. And even still, like
it doesn't matter if it does it once. If an eclipse happens, and you know what they call the Seleninian eclipse? If you can't remember that name, they call it the impossible eclipse.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard of the Seleninian eclipse. I believe you.
Of course, because they don't teach it in school. Because if they did, you might start questioning where you live. Right? You are book smart. I have to give you credit.
Yeah, he's a very intelligent guy.
Yeah,
but he's just.
He's book smart on what he's been told. The books come from the Rockefellers, and the Rockefellers want you dead. Just so you know, they want you as a debt slave.
They want you on the top of Mount Everest.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. So the Seleninian eclipse proves 100% that it's not the Earth causing the shadow. The other thing is when you talk about the shadow coming in, if you take a sphere, you can do this up, get a spotlight and get a basketball and get a baseball and eclipse the basketball, right? The baseball's the Earth or whatever size you want to do it. It doesn't come on with that perfect shadow going across. It comes in as an ellipse, it spreads out, and then it leaves as an ellipse. When you do it onto a flat surface, I'm not saying the moon is flat, it comes in as that perfect curve all the way across. But a sphere casting a shadow onto another sphere does not maintain that perfect smiley face or sad face, whatever you want to call it. It does not, right? This is something, has to do with eclipse. This is just the other day during a new moon. Somebody filmed this, and it was filmed a couple times because of all the smoke in the sky from the fires out west. The brightness of the sun was obscured enough where all of a sudden we could see something. What the heck is that? That's exactly where the moon is supposed to be.
Interesting.
Okay.
So is it the moon?
I don't know. It might be, right? This was filmed another place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's in Kentucky. It was filmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll zoom in. Hold on. Where is it? There it is, right? This other body was there. Normally, the sun's so bright, you can't see it.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know that so if this is the moon, this is a world record because nobody has ever seen the moon, not from outer space with an observatory infrared. No one's ever seen the moon in less than 42 hours after it goes new. Once it goes new, nobody with any lens anywhere from any position has ever spotted the moon again in less than 42 hours, almost 2 full days. So when there's a new moon, it's not there. Well, and so what's the reason that nobody can see the moon? Because there is the easiest globe reason is, do you know?
Why
you can't see the moon
on a new moon?
Yeah, why can't you see the new moon in the sky? It's easy. It's an easy answer.
Oh, so it's not a trick question. It's because
it's a stupid answer, but the only answer you can say is because the sun is so bright you can't see the moon, and there's no light on this side of the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, because the moon is closer to us, the sun's behind it, the sun's blinding us. There's no light on the front side of the moon, therefore we can't see it, which is ridiculous because you could zoom in on it. So
it just looks like a dark sphere in the sky. You can't see it.
Yeah, well, there should be a dark spot in the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. When there's a full moon and you're out in the middle of nowhere, the moon will cast a shadow on the ground. Why is the moon casting your shadow on the ground? What's that called? That's called moonlight or moonshine. Right. Moonshine. Okay. So
no, moonshine is something else. But yeah,
moonshine.
You're right. Moonlight will cast a shadow. Any light can cast a shadow.
So you're saying that the moon is a light?
I'm saying that.
No. He's saying it's
light.
Reflecting. Listen, I'm not going to go there because we went down that road and it didn't click. All right. So you have the moonshine. So during a total eclipse, no one has ever seen the moon approach the sun, eclipse the sun, or exit the sun, right? When we look at an eclipse, do you see the moon here?
Yeah,
you don't. Imagine that. You don't. You see a circle. You see the sky,
but it's not the moon.
Do you see the moon here? No, you see the sky. You see the moon here? No, you see the sky.
You see something.
Okay, this is a dark picture. We'll exclude that one. Okay. Right? Do you see the moon here? Nope. You see the sky. Right? Do you see the moon here? No. You see the sky. Again. You never see the moon. Now, you could imagine the moon there, but you're imagining it because you don't see the moon. You don't see the moon over here, right? You can imagine it, but you see the sky. You see the sky. You see the sky, right? You don't see the moon. I think I'm looking for one by NASA. Look, this is just missing sun, I call it. Missing sun. All right?
That's the diffusion of the air around it. Like, it's diffusing that light. Like, we can diffuse a bigger light source using an implement in front of the light source. That's actually how we're lighting a set. We have a diffuser.
So when there's a total eclipse of the sun, mm-hmm. and there's no ring of fire, so there's nothing to blind you. Well, guess what? If you were on the moon looking at the Earth, there's a full Earth, like a full moon. There's a full Earth. the Earth is 6 times brighter, 6 times bigger, and it has reflective oceans. So I would say it's a minimum of 6 times brighter than the Earth shine. So that Earth shine should light up the entire face of the moon. Never does. Nobody has ever seen the moon during an eclipse. Scientifically, provably, ridiculously impossible for that to happen.
So what do you think it is, Dave? What do you think? Are we talking about Rahu here or no?
It could be Rahu, could be Ketu. I actually think that the moon does have something to do with eclipse. But again, it could just be another dark body, something I don't understand. But let me show him
Miles, are you familiar with the black sun? Do you know about that concept or anything?
No, I've never heard of a black sun.
Okay.
But again, there's video, and I can't really show it here, of Rahu and Ketu during an eclipse whizzing by the sun. One of them's fast. It's not definitive, but when you see it, it makes perfect sense. So I'm trying to where's my eclipse? Oh, that's not it. Where is it? Oh.
We should get into flight patterns and hemispheres as well.
We'll get into flight pattern, then we'll
Matt, do you
bring
believe
it around.
Australia is real?
Do I believe Australia is real?
Yes. So again, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Okay. So here we go.
Wrestling is real too, by the way.
So here we have. This is a real eclipse. You paying attention? Or you Googling?
No, I was switching the scene on the monitor there so they can see.
Okay. So this is a real eclipse. I filmed it. I stared at it for the entire hour and a half that it was happening without sunglasses, and my eyesight got better. That's a side note. This is my modeled eclipse. Paper towel with a source light behind it and something eclipsing the source light. With me?
Yeah.
Paying attention? With me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
So this is a real eclipse. It's about 80%. And we see this. What is this? Right? Now, you don't see the eclipse here because it's so bright, it's just blowing out the lens. But the eclipse is about that much. Now, this one moving around, that's obviously a lens flare because it's moving around as the camera moves. Mm-hmm. But this one is locked into position with the sun. It's not moving. What is that? What is that? Okay? And I say it's the source sun. Let me explain what that means. So here's my eclipse. Mm-hmm. I got a paper towel and I'm projecting the sun. So this paper towel represents our sky, our azimuthal dome grid of vision. Here is the source of the sun, and here comes my eclipse. Eclipse is just a bottle cap, and it's eclipsing it. Now, you don't see it in my sky. I can't see that. There's no sign of the bottle cap, but there's just paper towel, right? There's just paper towel. There's missing sun, just like a real eclipse, right? So then I thought, look, and now it's leaving. Do you see the bottle cap? Do you see the moon cap? Mm-hmm. So I decided to do it with thinner paper, make the sky a little more translucent, okay? So here's my eclipse. Don't really see it, but I'm seeing an eclipse. What is this? And when we compare that to the actual footage of the eclipse, source sun, this is the source sun. This is me seeing through the sky when the eclipse is happening, so the sky's not so bright, conditions are right, I'm able to see the source behind it. Now, this is exactly what we see in reality. The explanation of no one's ever can see the moon, even during a total solar eclipse, doesn't conform to what they call reality, heliocentric eclipse nonsense. This does.
So the implication.
We're gonna
look. Like,
go ahead. Sorry.
What is that like? Ultimately, what does that mean? Is that there's what like is that what Matt was talking about with the black sun? I'm trying to understand.
Again, here's the thing.
Is getting at.
I don't need to go into space or beyond 60 degrees south to prove the Earth is flat. We can see too far. Period. It's over. Waters at rest lies flat always. Okay. There is no curvature. There is no axial rotation. Every experiment through science, through time, that tries to prove axial rotation or curvature has proved the opposite.
Earth's gravity is what keeps the water on the planet.
All right, let's get into gravity. Let's go.
Gravity.
Gravity.
Like, is gravity
Okay.
debate?
Is gravity a scientific fact or a theory?
Gravity, we mentioned this also a little earlier in the show as well, but gravity is a function of an object's mass, right?
But it is a theory. It is not a science.
Is it a scientific fact or is it a theory?
It's a fact because gravity.
Okay,
is
stop.
Google it.
I'm stopping you. You're wrong. It's admittedly a theory. And guess what? 96% of it is wrong. It doesn't work. So what they did is they made up dark matter and dark energy to fill in the 96%. And so you say that gravity is mass attracting mass. Do you know that they changed that? Hold on, my camera just came undone.
All good.
They changed it to the bending warping of space-time right now, right? Are you Googling or are you paying attention?
No, my hands are right here, brother.
Okay. So this is gravity. This guy's being sucked to the center, everyone's feet are antipodal to each other.
Right.
And that's normal. This is insanity. Everything down for everybody all across the earth. Okay.
Right.
They want you to think this is crazy and this is normal. All right. Gravity is a made up theory that 96% of it is complete, total, more nonsense. And no one's ever proved the bending of space time. Ridiculous. It's just word salad. Okay. So what is gravity? Well,
right.
I have a theory.
Rhetorical? Okay, go ahead. I'd like to hear the theory. I'd like to hear the theory.
Okay. So do you know what the electrostatic force is?
Yes.
Okay. You know what Walter Lewin is? The electrostatic force is forces that hold our world together. Walter Lewin. Okay. One of the greatest professors of all time from MIT. All right. So what is going on here? I got two things going on. Okay. Let me get rid of that. So the electrostatic force, all right? So the way our world works is it's a giant battery. The sun and the moon are the anode and the cathode of the battery. The salt water carries the current and the land is a salt bridge. And it's this giant free energy system. And there's an electrostatic flow from the sky, which is positively charged, to the ground, which is neutral or negative. And so there's a flow, measurable. You can measure the wattage, the voltage. You take a drone and get a really thin wire, put the drone up as high as you can. Don't touch that wire because it's filled with electricity, right? Because there's a downward flow of free energy going. So when I lift this ball up here and I let it go, it falls. Why is it falling? Well, one, it's more dense than the air, but the flow of energy is downward. So down is this way, right? And so they tell us that the electrostatic charge, right? Let's talk about, let me show you what that is, right? Okay. So if we go here, where is it? I am a little where'd it go? Is this it? Oh yeah. So we got some party balloons here left over and we tied them. We got just a little button here and it's neutrally buoyant a couple inches above the floor. This wire goes to a Van der Graaf generator and we're going to introduce a positive charge, right? So we turn it on, positive charge added. It goes down. We discharge the extra positive charge, and it goes back up. Did we make it heavier because of gravity, or did we manipulate the electrostatic charge?
Oh, this was a manipulation of the electrostatic charge, but you're using a different force. Like gravity is also a force. It doesn't remove the force of gravity acting on this. That's just counteracted by the helium balloons. Right? Like gravity hasn't stopped applying to this object. It's just now that the buoyancy is at a neutral level, like you said, 0, adding an additional force is going to cause it to move. What is that like? How does that?
I added a positive charge to it and it went down. Right. Okay. And the earth is neutral or negative, positive and negative attract. And so it got heavier. If you look at the periodic table, go from the lightest to the heaviest, each one has a little stronger positive charge. The higher the positive charge, the more it's going to be attracted to the earth and the heavier it is. Okay. So let's try the opposite, right? In your world, if I add a negative charge, it should go down. We add a negative charge and it goes up, right? Negative charge, it goes up. As long as we keep that negative charge in there, it goes up. Did we make it lighter or did we affect the electrostatic attraction. Okay.
What are those?
MIT made a drone called the Silent Drone. Looks like a milk crate, not a milk crate, a skid, and it flies. No moving parts. All they're doing is changing the electrostatic charge, and it flies.
Right,
are they changing its density? Are they changing its weight? Or are they changing the electrostatic attraction to the Earth?
So what this is doing is proving the existence of the electrostatic theory. It's not disproving gravity, right? Like this is positive confirmation for a different force,
so I just
negative.
proved, and you said it. I said it. You said it. It proved the electrostatic force is real.
Right, it's positive confirmation.
Still haven't proven gravity's real. Gravity's a theory. Need 96% dark bullshit to make it work. Okay, but I just proved the electrostatic. Now, your guys that say that don't talk about gravity and swear gravity is their god, they say that the electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity. So let's pretend gravity is real. I know I can prove that there's an electrostatic force on here and it goes down. Okay, let's pretend gravity's real. The electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 power stronger. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If I was in that studio right now and I took my finger, I took a hammer and I tapped it on your head just so it gave you a tiny little bump. Okay. If I did it 10 times harder, what would happen to your head?
You'd probably give me a concussion.
If I did it a million times harder, what would happen?
I'd probably be passed out, if not dead.
You'd be decapitated.
No, your head would explode.
Yeah.
If I did it a billion times harder, it would probably blow up the whole building. Okay. If I did it a trillion times harder, I think we'd go back in fucking time. It's ridiculous. So hold on a second. So the electrostatic force, if it was only a trillion times stronger than gravity, that's 10 to the 15th power. Your science, your gods are telling you that the electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 time power. 10 to the 36 power. That's 10 with 36 zeros. There's only 15 zeros or 16 zeros in a trillion. Okay. These numbers are absolute insanity, but they're the ones that are saying it. I don't even believe it's true. If gravity, if they can measure gravity, I don't believe that if the electrostatic force was a trillion times stronger, we'd be pancakes. Okay. You are in a cult.
Because I believe in
Get out of it.
We can
Well,
prove
Miles, how do
gravity
you
in
believe
a
that, like, say, a
vacuum.
butterfly could take off into the air if gravity is holding down, say, the Atlantic Ocean? Like, how do you?
Right. No. So gravity affects everything, equally, right? It's the force of acceleration that's pulling us all down towards the center of the Earth, which is like 9 point.
So here, let me ask you a question. Here's my hand. This weighs 5 pounds.
Okay.
How much force do I need to stick that to my hand?
To the top of your hand or the bottom of your hand?
No, to the bottom of my hand. I want to push this up here. What's the minimum amount of force I need to push this onto the bottom of my hand?
5.0001 pounds.
Right. So just 5 pounds, right? Because 4 pounds, it's going to come down.
Right.
5 pounds, it'll stick right there.
Right.
Here's the globe. You got oceans. How much pounds do the oceans weigh? 100 quadrillion
Measurable.
bazillion pounds?
Not
Tons?
Not measurable.
It's
How
it's a
much-
substantial number.
How much force does it take to hold 100 trillion tons of water to the bottom of a ball?
But see, that's where the mass of the Earth is coming from. That's part of the mass of the Earth that's creating the gravity, right? Is the mass of the Earth that's holding it down there. Like,
You know that they don't even believe that anymore. They're talking about it. They've given up that theory of gravity because it's ridiculous, but you're still clinging to it. You probably believe in evolution too. It's been proven not to be
do
true,
believe in
but they still teach it in schools.
well, no, so dude, like nature iterates on its design constantly. We can actually see, evolution happening before our very eyes. That's how, like, antimicrobials and antibacterials work. Like, we can see it affecting generations of bacteria, and that's
So
how
you
create
believe
super
that
Oh my
we've
God.
all
Is your
developed from
middle
pond
name
scum? Do
Joel
you
by
really
any chance?
believe that? Hold on, Dave.
Is your middle-
Dave, hold
go
on.
ahead.
I just want to ask you, believe that we have everything that we that we see has developed from pond scum.
Yeah, I believe life has a common ancestor, right? Because from a simpler form, more complex organisms are can evolve and come from that, right?
No.
Okay, so what we
so
descended from Adam is
in
like
your
we
world,
descended from
in your
him.
world,
There's a
an
creator.
amoeba.
Yes, there's a creator.
Okay.
Yeah. In your world, an amoeba turned into a fish. The fish grew legs, climbed out of the water, and found another sexy fish that was attracted to that grew legs. So they had sex and it turned into a monkey. And then the monkey, had a retarded baby that turned into a human.
That's
right.
reductionist, but yes.
Yeah, that I mean that never ever has any species turned into another species ever. No one's ever found any links to that. They still teach about Lucy, all fake. It's all bullshit. It's all nonsense.
Well, it is
But
happening
you
in the
believe it.
theater community, unfortunately.
What they're turning
Yeah.
into a new species.
Yeah, there's other species.
Well, how
Right.
come as a people or a species, we haven't evolved according to that theory of evolution?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have. That's actually a
I
misnomer.
think there's still same dumb shit people that
No,
been
no,
around for
no,
100
absolutely.
years.
How do you like if you go to certain, like tribes that you'll find in the Philippines that can hold their breath underwater for like 5 minutes at a time?
That's a learned
skill.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, David Blaine can do that, but
they're-
he taught himself how to do that.
absolutely. You can overcome a lot of these limitations with practice and more practice.
Why has
You're
it-
developing
All
towards
right.
that direction?
why has
But
it
let's-
evolved? If that's
Illnesses
the,
have evolved, right? They have evolved to overcome antibacterial, like the antibacterial that we take in the forms of the medicines that we take. They
how
do
come they
evolve
haven't
through
disappeared?
those
But the
things.
According to
form of the
evolution, they
human
should
being-
disappear at some point.
What should
As we evolve, so should the diseases, and they
no,
should
they
disappear.
evolved with us,
That's my point.
right?
Are they evolving? with
Okay.
us?
All right. Listen. This is a ridiculous question. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You're on an airplane. You're on a runway. You're sitting right here. You're at the top of the world. So always on top of the world. So my fingers are pointing towards the horizon. Correct?
Right.
Right? It's a much smaller scale. So the horizon is over here. So it's nighttime, and I could see some stars on the horizon.
Mhm.
Right? No problem.
Right.
Clear night. So I fly down to the equator. Where are those stars on the horizon? Are they still in front of me or are they over my head?
They would appear to be still in front of you, like above, if relative
Why?
to you in the Earth. Like yes, it
Why?
would make sense that they're above you, like over your head, but they
No,
would still be in
untrue.
front of you.
Look at this. Look at this. The reason the stars
Plus,
are
you're
moving
flying
across
over
the
a flat
sky.
plane. That's
Hold
why.
on. The reason the stars go from east to west is because the earth is spinning. That's what they tell us. Okay. I'm on the top of the earth. I'm not flying east or west. I'm flying south. So I got stars that are straight out in front of my windshield. And now I'm going to fly over the earth. Are they still in front of my windshield?
Yes,
Explain how.
it's a parallax. They're so
Parallax.
far away that, like, even if your orientation changes, like
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like if you're looking at a star on the horizon and then you lay down on your back and you're looking straight up, do you still see that star?
wait. So if you lay down on your back, lie flat, you still see the star, right?
No, you don't. The star is your feet are pointing at the star. Your eyes are pointing up at 90 degrees. The star is at the horizon. Let's try again. The star is over there and I fly down, changing my orientation to the star. Is the star still in front of my fingers or is it above my hand?
In this example, they're above your hand, right?
Okay.
Because you're pointing
So if you're on
down.
an airplane here and you fly to here, any star you saw on the horizon here will now be at your zenith above your head.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on. No, that's not what I want to show you, of course. So here's a flight from Germany, super sped up, flying down to Brazil, going halfway down, more than a quarter way around the earth, halfway down. So here are the stars, and they're not rising up. They're just moving slowly. Now, this is Google Earth. In Flight Simulator, it says, the stars would be rising up. These stars would be rising up as you're diving over. They're rising up. But this is what Google Earth says should happen. Okay. And it makes sense on a ball. This should happen. But reality an actual video from an actual flight, not in a simulator, shows that they don't go up. Do you find that odd?
Yeah, I find that interesting, actually.
Why is that interesting and not conclusive to you?
Lyle, do you think that the explanation could be that we're flying over a flat plane?
Well, the rest of the evidence
Are you
is
open
contrary
to
a flat Earth, right?
What do you mean
that's
the
what
rest
I'm
of
getting.
the evidence?
The rest of the evidence that we can see and observe is contrary to a flat Earth in, the way the boats sink beyond the horizon. In the
But
way
he
that
showed
every
you that the
other-
boats are not sinking over the horizon. It's just you can't see far enough. And then when you bring in a
Right. Yeah, when you bring
optical,
the
if you bring in a
telescope
high
to
enough
refract the
powered
light.
lens that can see further
We
than
can
your
zoom, and we can see farther than the curve of the Earth, the physical curve of the Earth. You can't zoom in through it. On a ball Earth, there's a physical curve that must be there, and it's only there under perfect conditions. Under not perfect conditions, which is 99.9999% of the days, it's closer. It's closer, not farther. It can never be farther. It can only be closer. A 6-foot tall person standing at the edge of perfectly calm water on a perfectly clear day, 3 miles. Any other conditions, waves, fog, anything, pollution, that horizon moves closer, not farther. But when you watch the sunset on the ocean, even when there's friggin' waves, if you're out west, you'll see that sun setting 100 miles, 50 miles away, but not 3. It's not intersecting with the water 3 miles away. It's way the hell out there. Okay. Here's another thing. Here's a flat version of your globe. You're taking off from this airport. You want to get to this red dot location, but the Earth is spinning. Okay. So you take off and you're heading towards here, but by the time you reach the destination, your destination's over here. So you have to constantly correct to the left, correct to the left, correct to the left, correct to the left, correct. And you have to chase it all the way over here. Okay. And
Right.
to get there. So if you were a smart pilot, you'd go, you know what? I'm gonna intersect that guy. Like the football player doesn't follow the path of the guy. He's gonna cut him off. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go from here. My destination's here. I'm just gonna fly a straight line here. And guess what? My destination's gonna come. It's gonna come zip right around, and I'm gonna intersect it right there. Never done. No one ever does that. No one ever does that. They fly from point A to point B. Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane. So here's my next question for you.
I think this is definitely going to have to be a 2-parter. There's so much more we got to get into, but
This
do this. We haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, we're at minute 2 minutes.
We haven't gone anywhere because it fascinates me. Your middle name's not Joel by any chance, is it?
No. Actually, Miles is my middle name.
Oh, what's your first name?
Joel Miles.
What is it?
Ismail.
Ishmael. Oh, yeah, right. Ismail Skalli, yeah.
All right. So hold on. So I forget the transparent because it's just green.
Those are green, right?
Yeah. So the top is the northern hemisphere. The bottom is the southern hemisphere, and we have our equator around the middle. Mm-hmm. If I pick any 2 locations in the north, an origin and a destination, any 2, right. Is there any reason that plane should fly below the equator to get to its destination? Use your logic. Use your mind. What?
No obvious reason to me. No.
Well, guess what? No plane flying from a northern location to another northern location ever goes below the equator. Congratulations. Your logic worked. Now let's try this. In the southern hemisphere, if you want to go from a southern airport to another southern airport, does that plane ever need to go into the northern hemisphere?
A southern point to a southern point, does it ever have to go into the northern hemisphere? No, it shouldn't. The logic should still stand that it goes from south to south, right?
So I'm going to show you a couple things. Bite your tongue by saying, oh, they have to go pick up other pilots, other passengers and stuff. Just bite your tongue because I'm going to take that away. Okay. So here's one from Buenos Aires to Amsterdam to New Delhi. It stops in Amsterdam. So on a globe, what the hell is going on here? On a globe, they go all the way up here to the north and then all the way back down. Kind of weird. Why didn't they just go right across Africa? Right? Well, the reality on a flat Earth, it looks like this. It's kind of, they stop here, get some fuel, and they continue. Let's look at another one and look at a couple, and then I'll let you respond. Okay. Sure. Sydney to Mexico City, stops in Los Angeles. Okay. It goes all the way up to Los Angeles and all the way over. Why didn't they just go this way? Okay. Maybe they had to pick up some passengers. Okay. But if you look at it, it's pretty much a straight line, right? There's some more obvious ones. Let's get here. So here's one, right? Dubai, no, Durban in South Africa to Sydney. It stops in Dubai all the way up here. So it goes all the way up the north and then all the way back down. Why didn't it just go over here? But if you look at it on a flat earth map, coincidentally, it's a straight line. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. Is that the third map? And can I respond to that?
One more.
Okay.
Same thing. Rio to Johannesburg. It goes all the way up to Sao Paulo. It goes all the way up here and all the way down. Why didn't it just fly across here? And it happens to be a straight line on the flat earth map. Go ahead.
The flat earth map is the globe just rotated like so that the North Pole is in the center as we
It's actually the other way around.
It's actually the other way around. So let me ask you a question. What on a globe, you have a North Pole and a South Pole, and you have 24 equally spaced lines creating time zones. So as you spin, there's your time zones, right?
Right.
How many time zones in the North are there, and how many time zones in the South are there?
I believe I could be mistaken about this. I believe there's 24 time zones total. Each of them are spaced out. No, I think it's more like 12 or 24 time zones.
Well, each time zone is 1 hour.
Right. Yeah. It's 1 hour apart, right? Between like New York to Central to Mountain Time to Western Time. Yeah.
I think there's 32 time zones in the South and like 19 or something in the North. Right. It's a total. On my app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, if you hit the time zones button, you can check it out. Okay.
So I haven't Googled this, but like my knee-jerk reaction to that is that on the globe model, of course, right, is that the Earth is on an axis, right? And we're trying to line up things with like times that are happening in New York daytime, whatever that is, let's say 12 o'clock PM, right? Is in Australia, which is on the south hemisphere.
All right. Listen, I'm getting hungry with all this talk. Okay.
No, I don't blame you, man. I actually need to reach for my water too.
My system everything just shrank.
Joe, any commentary, any feedback?
All right.
Yeah.
So,
where do you lean so far
where
on this
are you
issue,
leaning
Joe?
right now? Because you
I'm
were
also
leaning.
curious to
You've
know.
been on the fence.
he's
President.
yeah. All right. Good.
Go ahead, Joe. Let's let Joe talk. He hasn't said much.
Well, first of all, my whole theory on gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I truly believe that the theory of gravity is still out there because they use that to enhance their global warming theory. Because if everything heats up, according to them, gravity's going to fucking drop and everyone's going to be fucking crushed to the floor.
I've never even heard that. It's another ridiculous. That's
which is ridiculous. But they equate gravity and losing gravity to global warming.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this.
I'll give you the gravity thing. One thing I find interesting with the moon, going back to the moon, there are times when I have looked at the moon and to me, it seems so fucking close because I can actually see shit on the moon.
Yeah, or through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So this whole thing with the moon is always kind of skeptical to me.
Yeah, on a clear day, sometimes you can see like a star through the
You'll
moon.
see shit on the fucking moon and different colors.
If you go on Google Earth and zoom in pretty close and draw a circle 40 miles around and then zoom out and see when it gets too small to see. And before you get, I think like 400 miles or whatever it is, you can't see it. It's just a tiny dot. It's gone. Right. And that's just like, you're still pretty damn close to Earth. Okay. When you look up at the moon, that big crater on the bottom that has all the spiral lines, the radiant lines from it, that's, I forget the name of it, like in Enceladus or something. Don't quote me there. Whatever crater. They say it's 40 miles wide. How the hell can we see it 250,000 miles away? You can see it with your naked eye. Again, if you do the math and you look at it, it absolutely does not make sense. Getting back to this, okay?
Okay.
New York. My whole thing shrank, so I can't even friggin' see.
Hawaii.
New York to Hawaii. There was an emergency right about here. And so they went to Seattle, which is like 1,500 miles out of the way, 1,000 miles out of the way. They got there in 15 minutes. How the heck did they do that? 500 miles an hour, 2 hours. It would take 2 hours minimum to get there. They got there in 15 minutes. If you look at it, Seattle's right on that route, right on that flight route. Okay. Here's another one.
1,500 miles away.
No, it is from where they're supposed to be. Here's one. They had emergency right here, and they went to Moscow again. That might even be 2,000 miles away. Let's just say it's 1,000 though. They got there in no time at all. If you look at it, Moscow's right on that flight route again, right on the flight route. Another one, right? Dallas to Beijing, stopped in Calgary. Calgary is way the hell up here. Why didn't they just stop here in California or Portland or wherever that is? They went all the way up to Calgary. Look at a flat Earth map. Calgary is exactly on that flight route. Okay.
Right.
Here's
so
one.
those flight routes. So what I'm noticing here on these globe photos that you're showing of the flight paths is that those planes don't actually fly in a straight line between point A to point B. They do fly in those curves in anticipation of, emergency landings or
Get the hell out of here. You're just making up shit. They can stop it. Explain this one then. Explain this one. Okay. Explain this one. You're now just pissing me off. Okay. They're about to land. They're flying to Auckland, New Zealand. Right here, there's an emergency. Okay. They can continue to Auckland, or they can divert equally as far, if not farther, to Fiji. Okay. Right. So there's nowhere to land out here. All right. Right. If you look at it though, it's right there. Fiji's here. It's not over here. Fiji's right there. Zoom in. Fiji. Right. That's why they landed. Emergency happened here. They stopped in Fiji. Okay. One more and let me hear your excuse for this one.
Sure.
Okay. So this is a flight from Hong Kong. They were going to the UK. They ended up stopping in Germany. UK is right here. Okay. And it's a 12-hour flight. 4 hours into the flight, family's flying together. The mom dies suddenly, dead in her chair. Little girl, little boy, father. Okay. They're all sitting there. Mom's dead. Okay. Mom's dead. Well, if you do some research, there's probably 50 different airports that they could have stopped at. They didn't stop at any. They flew for 8 hours, finally stopping in Germany. At that point, why don't you just go the other hour or two and get to their final destination? Okay. Why do you think they didn't stop? Why? Why didn't they land? The mother's dead. What's that?
If she was already dead, I'm surprised they stopped at all. She's dead, right?
Where'd they stick?
Okay. All right. Dude, if somebody dies on a plane, you let. So why did they stop? Why did they stop here?
I don't know.
So listen, hold on a second. Your belief that they don't stop for dead people is retarded. Because
pick them up on top of a mountain.
What are they going to do for her?
Well, here's the thing. If you look at it on a flight route, mom dies here. They're over Russia the whole time. They can't land in Russia because Russia might be the good guys and that could spark peace. We can't have that during this political climate. And the other thing is, what the hell are we doing flying above Russia? Planes fly above Russia all the time. We don't think they do because we're told that they don't, right?
They don't anymore, at least not.
No, they still do right now. We know pilots. Okay, they still fly over Russia. It's all bullshit.
American Airlines don't
bullshit.
fly over Russia
Yes,
right now.
absolutely. They all fly over Russia if that's where their flight is taking them. Okay,
Finding out the military flight routes because
yeah,
they're more strategic than commercial flight.
Yeah,
routes.
that's actually a really good point. If they
find out the military,
they're going to be
routes,
the most efficient, right?
the most efficient
right.
because if they need, it's kind of interesting how when they need to get somewhere really quick in a conflict, they're there in seconds. In a way.
Let me touch on one more thing. Going back to satellites for a second. So Elon Musk is putting up.
We're gonna have to do that.
No, we didn't. Elon Musk is putting up these Starlink satellites to give everybody internet, right? It wants internet everywhere. So do you know how your cell phone has internet, right? Mm-hmm. And you could drive. I've driven from Connecticut to South Carolina and been on the phone almost the whole way. No problem. Well, how am I staying connected? It's called a mesh network. I just jump from tower to tower to tower. It always goes to the nearest tower. Okay. So how many airplanes are in the sky? Well, airplanes are everywhere. They're all over the place. And airplanes are a mesh network. There's a mesh network of airplanes in the sky. Okay. And you can send Wi-Fi down to the earth from airplanes, and the whole thing could work. The earth isn't moving, but the airplanes are moving. So what's the first thing that Elon Musk said when the war started in where's the friggin' war? In
Ukraine.
Ukraine, right? No fly zone. So Elon said he's turning off Starlink. How the frig is he turning off Starlink? He's turning it off because there's no airplanes above there, because there's a no fly zone.
Oh, he
okay.
Threatening to turn it off because he wasn't making money on it, and then people gave him
Stop it. Elon Musk is a fraud. Okay. You know what? I gotta give you one more, because we didn't get to the moon or anything. I just got to give you one more because I need to
nuclear
see
bombs, Antarctica. We got to do a part two.
We
got to do a part two. It's too much we didn't touch on.
What time are we to?
It's
we're about 2 hours and 30 minutes in.
All right. So we're just going to finish this up with one thing. So sure. I'm going to just give you an analysis of this rocket, and then you have to tell me, is this real or is this fake? You ready?
Sure.
Okay. So here we got this big rocket. It's going to go to Mars. This is a test flight to go to Mars, right? It's got this little pad here. It's going to shoot a little fire out of the ground, and then we get this angle shot here. Very cool. And then it's moving up really slow. Now this thrust, this little flame, is lifting up 10 tons, 20 tons of weight, right? It's moving really slow. We got this far shot. Now look, think about the angle here. We can see the side. How fast is this thing going? Ooh, it's up pretty high now from the onboard shot. Now we got the side view kind of underneath it. Well, now we're up super high. And then now the engines have turned off, and now it's falling. Now, how high is this? How fast is it moving? Look at the smoke coming off of here. Now watch it now. Ready? Switch cameras. Look at the smoke. Is this thing 20 tons free falling? What is this? Okay. So now, it's up pretty high all of a sudden. Okay. It's up now. It's free falling. And how's that going on? Now, it's up pretty high again. Interesting. Right. Mm-hmm. And now 3 of the engines are going to turn on. The cameraman's going to get underneath of it. 2 of the engines are going to turn off, and it's going to land upright. Ready? Cameraman gets underneath. 3 engines are on. 2 of them are going to burn out. Ready? 1, 2. This little flame, look how fast it's moving. Not that fast. And it's going to land with a bunch of CGI smoke. And it's going to land upright. Is that a real rocket launch or a fake rocket launch?
Those last few shots did look pretty CGI.
The whole thing is fake, but that was shown unedited, high, low, floating, falling, turning, unedited. That's a SpaceX launch. Okay. That's a SpaceX launch. If you believe that is real, you've lost your friggin' mind. Okay. You've lost your mind. It's absolute insanity to believe that's real.
Well, they have landed rockets. That has happened. Whether or not this rocket, this marketing, so they faked stuff. They faked. Wait a minute. Wait, you haven't even looked at any rocket landings. Okay, you've looked at none of them. Okay, right? But they fake rocket landing. They fake some and they do some real. That's your stance, right? Some are real, some are fake. Yeah. Yeah, like some of it is marketing material and other so it's marketing material. What's up? Marketing material. Yeah, absolutely. SpaceX is a for-profit company, aren't they?
So it's NASA.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if the taxpayer dollars are the profit they're going
exactly.
for.
The only way you can keep that dream alive is by feeding the taxpayer that it's worth the money.
Well, NASA actually started as a rocket research program for weaponizing them.
400 billion light years away.
That would be
how NASA kind of
NASA, so they could find
they pushed the bullshit that it's either us or the Russians to get to.
Yeah, it was NASA versus Roscoe.
So they created like this kind of fake war between us to fund NASA to get to the moon, so on and so forth. That kind of died down, and now they resurrected it again.
Right.
But NASA is all marketing.
Yeah, it was absolutely the space race. They had to build hype for the people in order to get them to continue supporting NASA, which is why they would be incentivized to put out marketing material.
And I personally believe
you actually hear this the diatribe that's coming out of your mouth. Look at this. So this is the same rocket. They show. Look at a nice curved Earth. You know, there's a curve of the Earth. Got the sun. What a beautiful cinematic shot. and then it'll clip and it'll show you a concave Earth. Oh, it's flat. Okay. Now this is the first stage going up. This is the first stage, second stage, whatever. This one's going up, right? Now this thing is just free falling in the middle of the ocean, and it's going to land on a raft. Okay. With wind and waves. This thing is like 20 tons. It's like 10 stories tall, and it's going to land on a raft with these little milk crate filters. Okay. And there's a raft. Amazing. And it's coming down. This little flame is going to stop this thing and keep it upright with a single engine. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. No wave, nothing.
Like
you believe that?
You believe Elon Musk put a car into space?
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Actually,
land a freaking airplane if there's wind outside.
Look, concave Earth, curved Earth, concave Earth, curved Earth, right?
The size of the
That's
flame
what they show you.
Actually matter. Like you can start a butane fire and you wouldn't actually see the flame. It's actually dangerous because you can. They used to use butane fuel for race cars, like F1.
So here it is, comes landing, and we have a camera on the ground here, and watch what happens. Okay, that's your proof right there. I mean, I literally could take it. I could go. Ooh, I could just drop it, and as long as my hand doesn't come into the screen, and I could put it right down. Okay, Absolute. I mean, anyone with a critical mind, right here again. Here it comes in for a landing. So we got the ground thing, and then all of a sudden it starts shaking. There's nobody out here, but there's like somebody holding it. This is like a bottle rocket, not a bottle rocket, a Roman candle, right? Let's roll it, putting it down, right? That's all it is, right? Right, and then so here's another one, and then they lose satellite coverage at the last second. Here it's coming down, and it froze. Okay, every friggin' time that happens. Okay,
it's really hard to maintain a signal with that much force coming down on the raft.
Oh my god!
Like, I mean,
Right.
what I would love to find a camera that would survive, the thruster of a rocket.
Are you kidding me?
Yes,
are
no,
you
I'm not
absolutely kidding me? Why don't they put another raft over, a quarter of a mile away and film it? Okay, it's absolute ridiculous, right? And you look at it, there's just a bunch of fire and stuff, and people believe this stuff is real. Okay, people just believe this is real.
We can go
Disney.
down
It's
to
Disney.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or wherever they launched their Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, have you ever gone? We've had guys there, and whenever our guys are there with their P1000s, they cancel the launch.
Really?
Okay, they cancel the launch every single time.
Wow, that blows.
And it's always due to weather.
always
Yeah.
It might be sunny out, but it's always
And
due
then
to
they
weather.
do a nighttime launch, right? These rockets go up and they crash into the Bermuda Triangle where no boats are. And
That's why they tell you to stay out of the Bermuda Triangle so you don't see the
Yep.
shit going on
See,
there.
you don't get hit with one of these rockets.
all the rockets, they just go and they go crash right out in the sea. And if you watch them, they just curve over it. Oh, they're going around the curve of the Earth. But the Earth is so big, you can't see the curve, but we can see the curve of that rocket. When you watch a chemtrail being laid out on a plane, it's a straight line, right? And it looks like it's going down just due to perspective, but rockets, they do a curve because that's the
those are
curve of the
a lot
Earth.
higher up than any plane is actually.
Get the fuck out of here. This is the ground right here, okay? This is the ground. It's already curving. This is the ground. It's not nearly as high as those planes. These are nonsense.
It's
Okay.
using the Earth's gravitational field as well as the rotation of the Earth to not spin it into orbit, right?
Get the- you are just repeating nonsense again. You know what? It's unbelievable. I don't know how anyone could actually. It's your mental illness fascinates me. Okay, here. Tell me. How about this? How about this one? Landing in the middle of a field. Okay. Do you think that's real?
Come on, who showed that? That's fake as shit. Who put that out?
I made that. It's with a fucking lighter. I did it. It took me 2 minutes. Okay. But it's not much, but it's not, I don't have $71 million a day given to me.
No, Dave,
Right?
it's funny. Our PR guy, our press agent for our company, he works for NASA.
We don't know what he does.
Yeah,
Right.
he works for NASA.
He just flies.
Yeah,
out.
but here's everything is so compartmentalized in NASA. I'd say 95+% of the people at NASA have no idea that they're working for a bogus company. They have no
I
idea.
know someone that was involved in the moon landings. I mean, he was an older man, but he swears that they happened.
Well, we have a whistleblower on his deathbed. The guy said he how they filmed it, where they filmed it, who had access to the tent. I mean, all of the information's out there. You just don't see it. This is there was a SpaceX, or I think it was a SpaceX, right? Right. So where'd it go? All of a sudden you're going and watch the top of the rocket. Okay. Now there's no smoke trail. That means this is fake. Whenever they launch something, usually it's just a helium balloon. Okay. There's a smoke trail, but what happened there? What happened? Watch again. I'll zoom in. Now we were looking on NASA's images from NASA, and we zoomed in on their lawn, and there was these big spotlights. Like, what do they have these big spotlights for? I guess they're lighting up the tower or whatever. And then we saw a name panel and a company name, and we Googled it. It's a holographic projection company. Why does NASA have these giant, weird-looking lights on the ground that are from a holographic projection company?
They're getting ready for the fake alien invasion. That's
yeah, right. And then here's another launch. Right, something went wrong here. Right, this is a frigging balloon. Right, something went wrong. Didn't have enough thrust, and it just kind of went sideways. It just went sideways. Right. And the cameraman's like, everything's nominal, and they just talk and say stuff. And then he's like, okay, switch to the second camera view. And he's looking for it, where to go. Oh, here it comes. There it is. Right. Look at this thing. This is a balloon with a firework on the bottom of it. Okay. And then they show you this. They're in space. Wow. They're in space. Look, they're in space now. And now it's falling down. It's falling apart. I mean, they're horrible at this. Horrible.
One of the stages that got disconnected, isn't it? Like this camera angle that we're looking at there.
You're unbelievable, man. You are what give me nightmares. Okay. So this is a movie from the 1950s about a rocket that lands on a raft. And now we have this. Okay. Absolute insanity. This out here, when you analyze this one, it's blowing like 30 knots. There's 6-foot waves. And somehow that rocket can land on a little tiny raft. Are you kidding me? You couldn't stand on that raft without holding something. This thing is, 6, 8 stories tall. It's gigantic. And it's landing on that raft in high winds and waves.
It's so perfect too.
Yeah.
And whenever they land on these drone rafts, it's 800 miles off the coast of Florida. It's always flat. Okay. You ever been offshore? It's never flat. It's never flat. So there's always seas. There's swells and all sorts of stuff. Okay.
All right. So Dave, I actually have an early flight tomorrow to Los Angeles. So
I got to pick up Vito.
I'm going to observe the curvature of the Earth from my window and get back in. But listen, would you be willing to come back on again for part 2? Because there's so much more.
We can talk about it, but first, from your producer, what's your number one proof we live on a globe? And don't use NASA, because you said it earlier. NASA faking stuff doesn't prove the Earth is flat. So NASA's off the table. What's your number one proof of the globe?
My number one proof of the Earth being a globe is that every celestial body that we observe is all spherical. Physics conspires to make things.
Oh my God. Everything in the distance is a sphere. You can look at a fucking square building in the distance and it'll be a sphere. What's that?
Like, why would the Earth, we're not trying to get into another tangent, but I find it difficult to believe
because the Earth is the Earth. The Earth is all that there is, right? Lights in the sky are lights in the sky. They're here within our sky. There's not rocky balls in space. Okay. That's all fantasy that you've been brainwashed with, right? You believe that stars are gas balls burning in a vacuum. Okay. That's retarded. And then you believe what?
Where do asteroids come from? Like, we've been
what
hit
asteroids?
By space.
We have? Name one.
We have. We can start with the ones that were made the dinosaurs extinct. We can start there. We can go to the asteroids.
Wait, dinosaurs? Hold on. You believe in dinosaurs? Oh my God. Wait,
oh boy, I didn't realize there was a rabbit hole that goes even deeper.
Well, that's why we need a part 2.
Dude.
Dave, we'll be in touch.
His proof of the globes are just ridiculous.
Dave,
anyone that's listening to this, don't be like this guy. Get my app. FlatEarthDave.com. Take the crash course there. Learn the truth. Free yourself from the heliocentric matrix. It'll teach you the frequently asked questions there. That page alone will blow your mind. And then then you'll never ask the question, why the lie? Because on the app, if you hit the frequently asked questions, there is the button Why the Lie right there. And if you hit that, it'll show you some amazing stuff. Tons and tons of stuff on here. There's also ways to connect with other flat earthers, meet, cute flat earth girls or guys, whatever you're into. And check it out. Just go to my website, flatearthdave.com. And I don't know. The people that have your position truly amaze me. Truly.
They're hard to break. They've been holding on.
Unbelievable. It's so sad that they can't see it. It's amazing. But some people aren't meant to
give them some ammunition now. I think you've given them some stuff to think about, some stuff to chew about.
No, I always
flatearthdave.com.
Learn
really
flatearthdave.com. Thank you, Dave.
Let's give Dave a big applause here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Dave, and
sharing your perspective.
hopefully we can get you back on because we got to talk about Antarctica. We didn't even talk about that. That's a huge rabbit hole.
Check out my channel, DITRH. It stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. DITRH. And just to make you realize that flat Earth is not a fad, these are just the people that are on the friend finder on my app. Okay, and this is worldwide, right?
Start your own dating website.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly is, and it's taking a huge upgrade. There's going to be a whole social media thing where you can make friends with people, and you can video chat with people. You can do all sorts of stuff. It's mind blowing.
I want some of that coffee. I'm a big coffee
drinker. Damn right. Damn right.
Scally's
so
the shithole today.
All right, Dave. Go eat. Thanks for joining us, brother.
All right, man. Thanks. See ya.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
So that was Flat Earth Dave. He went off for about 2 hours. Skalli, did he?
I gotta give Skal the props, man. Skal, you were really fucking great.
I'm just shell shocked.
Skal, you held your ground big time. Skal.
Big time. You could tell you were aggravating.
I'm convinced. Oh, I was absolutely. I mean, it's really hard when your beliefs are challenged.
Well, I think because you're a smart guy and you have answers.
Yeah.
Instead of humma.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. It's like it kind of gets to a point where
Skal made us the group look good that he wasn't like a total moron.
No, he wasn't an asshole. I mean, Skal.
But a lot of things that Dave said too were it's like.
Well, the one thing that Dave did not show tonight is an aerial view of the flat Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
From space.
He does have those videos, which
I was surprised he did not show. This is what a flat Earth actually looks like.
Well, he got into a lot of stuff that I had not heard him talk about previously. So I'm hoping that we can get him back on to bring in some of those things that for me were like, oh, they're slam dunks,
Right.
I mean, I think the flight patterns are
the flight patterns are really interesting. Again, I would put more credence on the military flight patterns because I think that would be more revealing. The whole question, though, I think is why would our government be hiding this fact?
Well, that's something that a lot of people ask, and I wanted to have Dave answer that question. But
I mean, what's the purpose of
to control you, to make you believe that you're, insignificant, that you're this random speck on a ball hurling through
space? But they control us in other ways,
and that you're not special and there's not a divine creator, and to get you to believe more in science and listen to us and the Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, I mean that's a different topic where they kind of dehumanize the population by going more towards science. And I mean, look, I think right now there is a big push with the current administration or government or whatever the hell you want to call it to kind of take us away from religion. De-religionize it.
Well, that's what flat Earth really is. It's trying to disconnect you from the creator, that this is a special place, that you are special, that this is the only place where
you are special,
that this is the only place where life does exist, and that there aren't all of these other planets and there isn't, all these other galaxies, that this is it. This is the one special place created by the creator. And if they can put you on a ball hurling at all these warp speeds, flying through an infinite galaxy where there could be billions and billions of other planets, then suddenly your
science is scary
reduced.
Because the average person doesn't get science. The average person doesn't understand science. They hurl stuff at you.
Don't you think a lot of it is like just these are smart men in white coats?
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's us against them.
Right.
We're the smart ones. You need to listen to us because we know what the
Exactly.
fuck we're talking about.
Exactly.
Science is an iterative process, right? You iterate on it as you go, and you update your
But
understanding.
the average person doesn't get science or cares about science.
And I think that's what they want. They want you
Yeah,
to not
the average person wants to
get
know
it.
what's on sale at Marshall's.
They want to keep you dumb and
Well,
not questioning.
Well, yeah, that's obvious. Look what's coming out of the schools these days.
Yeah, they're
totally.
out here for clicks, man. That's what TikTok's all about.
Exactly.
So Scal, any on your end, any leaning towards flat Earth? Are you still holding strong on the globe?
I'm always interested and excited to hear and learn new information and update our understandings. And a big takeaway from speaking with Flat Earth Dave would be that not all the marketing material that's put out there can necessarily be taken at face value. Some of it may be altered, but that goes on both sides of the aisles, right? You always want to be looking out for misinformation. You always want to be looking out for anybody who's trying to alter your perspective in less savory means by showing you proofs that may have been altered to lean you one way or the other. And that goes for, people or governments, institutions, right? So, keep your thinking caps on and always be out there looking for the truth, because the truth is out there and we just got to find it, right? And if you just accept what you're told, you're just being indoctrinated, whether it's by religion or by conspiracies or by the government. Observe, think for yourself.
I agree with you 100%.
How about you, Joe? Where do you stand on this whole debate?
I still think there needs more to be said. Right now,
So if I asked you right now, is it a globe or a flat Earth?
I'm undecided.
Undecided. You know how I feel about this whole takeaway? I'm gonna, if I was a jury member, right? It's like the OJ case. We all know that he did it,
Right.
but the Marcia Clark, Christopher Darden,
Right.
they fucked up the case so bad. The New York, the LAPD fucked up the case so bad that the glove didn't fit. It's
Right.
almost like, as a jury member, just listening to the evidence that was presented to you, you had to vote him not guilty, even though you knew he did it. But what they presented to you was they fucked it up so bad that you had. I understand that the jury could voting him not guilty again, even though.
But they also turned it into a racial issue.
That was a brilliant move on their part,
Without a doubt.
But my point is, we all know that he did it,
Right.
but they still found him not guilty, and I
Right.
can understand why they found him not
Well,
guilty.
they created reasonable doubt.
Exactly. And I think if I was just like a casual observer coming into this and I'm watching this debate, and again, I believe that we live on a flat Earth, but I think that Skalli actually won the debate. I think Dave created, he did a good job creating some reasonable doubt, but I don't think that he dropped the hammer in the way that the hammer
because if
needs
I was
to
on
be
the
dropped.
jury, I would probably lean towards Skalli because my attitude, again, reading, when you read the jury or you read it stuff, I'm like, now here's a guy. He was very calm, very collective. Nothing really kind of set him off. But the flip side was, you look at Dave, when Skalli would come up with a retort, it would freak him out.
Right.
It would totally freak him out, and he would go out of it, and the way he would shut Skalli up would be like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot! What the hell are you talking
Word
about?"
salad.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
word salad.
He didn't let Skalli get in some points a lot. I think Skalli was trying to talk. He kind of cut him off.
Which
a
is
lot.
kind of, I mean, but that's that's
he's a
Dave's
guest.
thing. That's Dave's thing, and that's cool. I mean, he's out to prove something, so on and so forth. But are you going to get converts doing it that way?
Right. And I don't think that,
I don't think he would have got.
I think for the
converts like-
person that was coming into this wanting to be converted to flat Earth would come away from this episode siding with Skalli.
Yeah, because if I was
Coming from someone who believes that
if I was in the jury room and I'm like, let's look at the evidence that was presented to me.
right.
And if I was to go back and look at the evidence that Dave presented, I was like, a lot of this is just like shit photography and all crap and all, everything that he showed was blurry, wasn't great photography. It just wasn't crisp and clean. And, a lot of Skalli's theories on why some of the stuff looked green screen and stuff, He's right about that.
Well, I don't think Dave
Realize that
expected we would have
Skalli,
this expert lighting and cameraman.
because that happens.
Working with videos and cameras, you do see a lot of electronic, glitches and things of that nature that would alter images, or using images that were clearly doctored in order to prove a point and then could admit that they were falsified. Did leave a bitter taste in my mouth, but at the same time, it's like a gotcha question, right? But I understand why he did it, but Dave did come very well prepared with a presentation. And, if I had known more, or if I had a better presentation, showing more valid proofs.
Yeah, well, that's not fair, because I think Dave's presentation is based on, he's been doing this for so long, and repetition.
Right, exactly.
He just remember that picture that he showed of the 4 astronauts in the front, and there was the guy that was floating in the back that he said was on wires.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't know for a fact that that was intentional, that maybe this guy was doing some type of experiment on his own with somebody else, where he is, because the wires were so obvious. To me, I'm like, if why would NASA even,
Are they that dumb?
are they really that dumb? I don't think so.
Although I think it's kind of interesting that they claim that they lost all the footage from the moon. I mean, you're talking about the most important event in human history.
Did they lose it, or they don't want people to see it?
Well, why do they not want people to see it?
Because I think,
is it detectable with today's technology that it's totally fake?
I think a lot of what NASA does, and again, I think if you look at it in the sphere and why it's so secretive and why it does this stuff, is because NASA is considered, for me, a high-tech defense, an arm of our defense systems. And I don't think they want the rest of the world knowing what we do. I think a lot of the stuff that they test, a lot of these weapon systems that they test, are all created and tested at NASA under the guise of a space program.
Do you think that we went to the moon?
Definitely.
Really?
We beat Russia to it.
Yes, I definitely think we went to the moon, because it's in our best interest to go to the moon. If we want to spy on everyone else, we need to figure out that we can get up there and do shit up there.
I think the first
So
trillion.
if you think we went to the moon, there's no way that you can think that the Earth is flat,
I totally think we went to the moon.
because they've shown pictures of the Earth from the moon
Right,
that show that it's a ball.
right.
So then how could you be undecided?
Because he brings up some interesting points.
Right, but
Okay,
if you
but
think we
those
went to the moon,
pictures-
I feel like there's no way you could believe
Well,
the
not
Earth is flat.
necessarily so, because again, there's when he was showing the 4 spheres next to one another, and all of a sudden he picks them up, one's flat. There, you could come up with theories on why the root. We could come up with a theory. Skalli could come up with a theory tomorrow and start, round Earth Skalli coming up with this theory. It looks that way, but it's not really that way. But it looks that way because of this, because of this, because of this, because of that, and come up with all this other stuff. So I think everything is left to interpretation. I don't think there's anything that is finite.
Yeah, the one thing for me is there's always this long detailed explanation in the globe model as to why we should doubt what we're seeing with our own eyes. You know what I mean? And what you're seeing with your own eyes, I feel, confirms the flat Earth. But we're told that it's refraction and it's this and.
But you got to take that into consideration, because there is reflective properties on the moon, from the moon and from the sun, and you got to take into consideration that we
if
are
the moon is reflecting that much light. How the hell could you even fly to it?
Because you fly to the dark side of the moon.
No,
Yeah, like you land on the sun at night, right? No, I'm kidding. Of course, that's not possible. But
I just think there's just a lot of questions. I have researched the subject. To me, curvature is a big thing. I don't think that there's curvature to the Earth. And if you have a 25,000 mile circumference of the Earth, like they tell us, then if you just do the math, then there should be X amount of curvature after every mile, and then you should not be able to see cities or mountains, past a certain distance, but you can. And then when Skalli brought up the ships going over the hull,
they sink hull first, right?
Right, but really what's happening is, and I thought that Dave showed that with the photography or with the video, that your eyes just can't see past a certain point. And then once you bring in a lens that is more powerful than your eye, it brings the ship right back into focus. If it had dipped over a curve, you wouldn't be seeing the ship.
Well, not to be redundant, but that is a part of the quality of light, in which it is a wave and a particle. The more the photons that are being refracted over the curvature of the Earth are fewer than the ones that are shooting past it, past the horizon, which you can see with your own eyes. So when you have a more powerful lens that can
pick up on those fewer photons and zoom past that point, then you will begin to see images, and that's why they kind of look hazy
So
in
do
the
you
distance.
think that that's not really the boat then? That it's a mirage of the boat? And that the real boat is over the curvature.
Depending on the distance, I think. And this might be a little bit more speculation on my point, because I haven't, gone to college and studied that specific, phenomenon.
No, but I mean, you were put on the witness stand and performed beautifully. You were the star witness.
More so, I feel like I was the defendant, but
Well, the interesting thing is when you're on a plane, you don't feel the plane going in a curve.
No. In fact, you can actually bring a level, like the bubble levelers.
Right.
And if you put that on your tray table on the flight, you'll notice that bubble stays in the center of that leveler, which would be, approved for flat Earth.
But then again,
the plane seems to be always level.
When a plane goes down, it doesn't go down this way. The way he was saying, when you're flying, it dips down straight. So you get that you feel when you're in a plane. You feel the plane coming down.
Sure.
You don't feel the plane doing this.
No, you don't, because, it's relative to your position above the current point on the Earth that you're at, right? So the above the current point of the Earth, that point relative to you is parallel.
But I think what Dave is saying is you don't feel the plane going down like that because the plane doesn't go down like that.
Yeah, but
you can't feel it.
But you can also say the plane goes down this way and it achieves the same purpose.
And would you say that the plane is going down this way because of it's a globe?
Well, that would make the sense of it being a globe. It goes down that way.
Speaking of the globe, we have to do Joe Stradamus real quick before we go.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, 6 minutes before we gotta close.
Yeah, this was a wonderful podcast.
Yeah, we're 5 minutes away from the 3 hour mark.
This is like a
That's a long
WWF
one.
pay-per-view. All right, so we've got a segment. We call it Joe Stradamus, and you can see him. Yeah, you can see him lighting it up. So Joe is the resident seer. He's not only the resident director of Ruth Stage, he's the resident playwright, and he runs the company with me, and he's also a prophet. So we have his crystal ball. Joe Stradamus looking into the future. Joe, because this podcast is about anything, you're allowed to make a prediction on anything. Make a prediction on something that will happen in the world before the halfway point of June.
I think the summer of 2023 is going to be brutal as far as things happening. I think the country's on the precipice of freaking out. And if we're going to get a hot summer, it's going to make it even worse. I think we're going to see a lot.
There's going to be a lot of uprising.
I think it's going to be the 60s all over again.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot. I'm not here to interject on your prediction, but I do think.
How dare you? It's my prediction.
Be a lot of political propaganda and unrest that goes out there. 2024 is going to be a hot one.
Skalli, what side of the political spectrum where are you?
I'm a libertarian. I identify as libertarian. I distrust our federal government, but I'm all for local communities. And the way I usually like to tell my friends is that with my immediate nuclear family, the people that live under the same roof, I'm a communist. When it comes to my friends and the people that I care about in that outer circle, I'm a socialist. I care about their rights. I care about, their civil liberties. With my state level, I'm a Democrat. I like to support, the populist movements. When it comes to the national level, I'm a Republican.
So he's all over the place.
Yeah, and then when it comes
to sooner, rather even easier. If the 2024 election is Biden versus Trump, who are you voting for?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Red Trump, blue Trump, right?
Yeah,
has nothing to do with that. It has to do who can take the country to the next place.
I would rather cast my vote just for the third party and
pretend there isn't one.
There's no third party.
That means he's voting for Trump.
There's no third party
in a world in which I had to pick between the two.
But he's going to vote for Trump.
I could actually make an argument for both, and that's a really, really tough argument.
Gun to your head.
Gun to my head, and I have to answer right now. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. Putting you on the hot seat. I mean, you
I
perform so brilliantly.
Okay.
With
I do have an answer
the FBI at your door tomorrow.
I think you're right, Joe. I think I would vote for Trump because at least if he's doing dumb shit, he's at least doing it in our faces. You know what I mean? Like Joe Biden, it's his cabinet and his administration that's pulling all the strings, and I can't see what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think gun to my head.
Or Biden.
Oh, also a very tough one. Also a tough one, but I think the answer is the same. DeSantis. I mean, the Republicans are absolutely fucking bonkers, but at least you can see the bullshit that they're pulling off. Whereas with the Democrats, they're just sliding in fucking agendas with bills that they're passing and like saying that it's for the good of all of
I
us.
for one hope that they pass the student loan forgiveness.
I don't think that's going to cut through the court.
If it's DeSantis or Trump.
DeSantis or Trump? Oh, DeSantis. I mean, honestly, like,
What is the one thing that could save this country?
Okay, actually,
We're actually turning to Miles for all the answers now.
Yeah, do I get a crystal ball? Where's my crystal ball?
Make it quick because I got to pick up Vito.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the one thing that could save this country, I think, a program in which young people actually had to engage in, like, military service. I'm not saying they have to join the Navy, Marines, or Army or whatever. They could be in the reserves, but just so that you could bring people from Tennessee with people from California and have them work together to improve their communities. I think you would have a lot more unity and
I mean, good
people
idea,
together.
but not for those reasons. I think the military brings structure.
Brings structure as well. That's
But the
absolutely a good
one
point.
thing that will save this country is term limits.
Oh, excellent answer. Actually,
Term limit. That will solve every fucking thing because we won't have the same fucking momos in
You're
office
talking about in the cabinets and stuff. How these people
everywhere.
for 30 years.
84-year-old women.
Yeah. Well, the president's terms are fine. 8 years. I think.
Yeah, and the
Power.
founding fathers did not want this to be a permanent job. I think 12 years in the Congress, you do your
Strongly
you're supposed to
agree.
be a common citizen and get the fuck out and go back to the private sector, let someone else come in. Same with the Senate. Maybe do 3 terms in the Senate at max. That's the term limits. I also think 75 years old should be the cutoff point
Absolutely. Yeah.
for all of them.
Right.
There's no business having a 90-year-old and these other people inside.
Joe, I'm going to
Washington.
put you on the hot seat. Who are you voting for in 24?
Oh,
Trump or
we
Biden?
don't know who the candidates are yet.
Let's see who the candidates
If it's
are.
Trump or Biden, who are you voting for?
Well, we're about to break the 3-hour mark. So
He's afraid to say it.
damn it,
people.
I'm gonna be the only Matt. All right, you get 10 seconds.
Hey.
Trump or Biden.
Hey, we came out of the closet a little bit tonight, with the flat Earth stuff. We're a Republican theater group.
It doesn't exist. We're the first one.
Whether it's DeSantis or Trump, we're voting. We're red state.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So with that in mind, as we've lost the whole half of our viewership, but this is a real quick. This is all propaganda. This whole Democrats and Republicans
course
hate
it
each
is.
other. Most of my friends are Democrats because we're in the theater community. We're in the arts.
Mhm.
I don't have, what it comes down to is what is the content of your character.
Right.
And I have really great moral friends that I can count on, and they support Biden. Great. And they know that I support Trump or DeSantis or whatever Republican gets in office.
Well,
But we're good people that are good to each other with common sense and morals and values and dignity. And that's what it comes down to. And the government is just trying to create all of this divide so that
Well, that's the problem.
United we stand, divided we
I'm going to
fall.
end this with something really quick. There was a time, and I'm old enough to remember this, where Democrats and Republicans basically worked together. There was a time when Tip O'Neill, who was a big time liberal Democrat, would go, and he was like Speaker of the House during Reagan. Reagan would go out to dinner with him all the time.
yeah.
These guys were close. They worked together. They needed to get shit done. The political parties weren't at each other's throats, and they weren't so power hungry the way they are now. And that needs to stop.
Yeah. I mean,
and
it's
the
just like,
filibuster, right?
And,
the
well,
filibuster
not
talk
only-
about
also
killing the
people
country.
need to respect other people's opinions and what they believe in.
yeah, it's like if somebody says, oh, he's, oh God, he's a
Oh,
Democrat. Yeah, but what's the content of his character?
Right.
I know pieces of shit that are Republicans.
Yeah.
And I know pieces of shit that are Democrats. It's like,
Democrats.
what kind of person are you? Like,
Mhm.
if you vote, if you have,
And that's what if you are what you are, that's it, fine. But don't criticize the other person because they don't believe in the same beliefs that you have. You should just step back. That's cool.
I think that's the moral of this.
but we have no morals left in this country.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
problem.
the moral of this podcast here is you got to respect people's, views, their opinions, and hear them out, and counter with your own points, and you don't take it personally.
and I want to say again, one last time, if I were coming into this podcast, just, birthed from my mother, not knowing anything about the world that we lived on, and at the end of the episode, deciding who do I side with, I think Skalli made a better case. So
The bell goes to
our
Skalli
host
tonight.
Hey, thanks,
boy
boys.
be the prominent flat earther, and this is coming from someone again who believes in the flat
Yeah,
earth
great.
model.
Well, look
Great
forward to the
job,
part two.
Scal.
But I
We
just
don't know which way part two is going to go.
Yeah, but great job to
Great
Skalli.
job.
This is the cheers one more time. To
Cheers.
the first episode of Magnificent Bastards. We are Ruth Stage, and we will see you next time. Our next episode, we're going to be talking about something that I know a lot about: narcissists. Ooh, we're bringing on a narcissistic abuse expert, Randy Fine, from my favorite place in the world, Miami, Florida.
And all you abusive narcissists, you better pay attention because we're coming after you.
In more ways than
Then
one.
you know.
Yeah. All right. So, Scal, anything to say? DJ Skalli, why don't you play some tunes to
Close us out.
Close us out.
Yeah, sure. I'll see what I can do, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
All right.
All right, Scal.
Thanks,
Love
everybody.
you, baby.
Hit the subscribe button to keep following all our podcasts. We'll see you again soon.